gosh.
Oh, is this your birthday?
Yeah.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Well, that's our moment of silence.
Oh, that is, yeah. All right. Welcome, everybody, and to the October 28th, 2025 regular Board of Supervisors meeting. We'll call this meeting to order here at 9:03. We'll start off as customary with our moment of silence. Supervisor Sabatier, you have one?
Yes, I have a moment of silence for Glenn Leroy Schmidt, who passed away recently. He was a longtime Lake County resident, and he brought laughter and warmth and kindness to everyone he knew. He was a Lower Lake High School graduate, was part of the Lower Lake Community Action Group, and definitely left a mark in his departure. There was a memorial for him, as well as his funeral last Friday. Packed room in the break hall in Lower Lake. I think it started at about 11. By the time that 5 p.m. rolled around, people were still there talking about him, his life, and just the memories that they had. Those who knew him will forever remember his work ethic, his generous heart, and the quiet kindness he brought to every occasion. And so that is my moment of silence for today.
All right. Supervisor Owen, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Consideration of extra items not appearing on the posted agenda. Do we have any?
Chair, we have no items.
0. Approval of the consent agenda, and I do know we have one. We're going to pull 5.4 to discuss at a later time. Is there any others that we would like to pull from the board? And if there's anyone in the public that would like to pull a consent agenda item, as you know, consent agenda items are usually approved in one motion. However, we can pull them to discuss further if there's any concern. Hearing nobody that wants to pull one, we'll go ahead and bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 5.4.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Let's see, we're at 9:06. We'll go ahead and move on to our timed items. Public input at 9:02. Well, it's 9:06, but we'll go ahead and start it. Public input is an opportunity for anyone from the public who would like to talk about and discuss something that is not on the agenda and bring to the board's attention. Just know that there will not be any input. According to the Brown Act, we cannot address this situation, but we can work to get your issue resolved. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Michael Wagner, and I appreciate the opportunity to bring something up that's not on the agenda that I think is important to us as a group. The agricultural industry and the wine grape industry currently is going through just kind of catastrophic times. I wanted to bring up to you guys maybe the option or possibility of supporting that industry. Right now, we're watching acres and acres get ripped out of the ground. And amongst other reasons, one of the main pushing points for that is the taxes that they pay on that assessed value of crop. I'm asking that you guys consider whether it be the taxes on the crop values themselves or maybe some alternative way to support the industry so that they aren't ripping out things that are of value to us as a group or as an area, and support them in their industry, which has been a pinnacle for us for a long time. With that, I don't presume to know what the right move is, but I do think that if we don't get ahead of the curve, it's a steep cliff off the other side. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mike.
Michael, what was the first one? You said wine grapes and something else?
Just wine grapes in general, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
I think that there's...
I thought you mentioned two things.
Well, there could be a case made for cattle as well, but without kind of like throwing too much into one basket. I think that for us being as deeply invested into wine grapes as we are and seeing what is happening, everybody has their different opinions about alcohol. But for me, it's an economic issue. And without lost value or lost revenue, long-term could really be impactful for the county. And I know that you guys, as a group, have dealt with all kinds of different crazy things. And so I'm sure that you guys working together can come up with some solutions. Bruno, he's always thinking. Anyhow, so, I'm not sure what the right answer is, but I think something could be done, and it should be considered before we get too far down to the point that they've ripped out hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of acres. And then we as a group lose that value or that revenue stream. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Board. Wes Baker, Lower Lake. I'm here, I was here last week at the geothermal Sonoma Clean Power event, and I just want to thank everybody up here for wanting to explore it further. And man, I think there's going to be a good future ahead in the exploration process. I've already seen some stuff, very exciting news. And I think my own opinion, and I believe it's the opinion of some of the board members, was that we're all in favor of lowering PG&E rates, having a choice and stuff like that. And I don't think any of us, and myself included, is against geothermal, but I think what we're against is not knowing what we're getting into when it's not made clear, when we're asked to sign an agreement that means that you're going to agree to something else and you don't even know what it is. It's not even in writing. And then it morphs and changes all along the way. But I brought in here, I'm going to quote, this is not my thoughts here now. I'm quoting directly from the Sonoma Clean Power minutes that was approved on September 1, 2025, which was just 60 days ago. One of their directors, Director Ferrara Riveras, asked what it means to join as GeoZone. Their own board of directors is asking their staff, what does that mean? And I think that was a question we had for almost a year, and I don't think we ever got a clear answer. Here's the answer that was given to the board by the presenter that we had here, CEO Cyphers, and again, I'm quoting reading right from it. CEO Cyphers explained that the formation of the geothermal opportunity zone is a demonstration of commitment and intention to support the development of advanced geothermal power sources in participating counties. Well, now we know, right? I mean, that's you couldn't get a more detailed explanation than that. It's just amazing that's what's going on over there. Director Ferrara Rivera also asked the geothermal's power's significant need for water. How does it affect Lake County? That's a great question, because the geysers up here is taking a lot of water, but it's wastewater. It's a good thing. This down here is not on that wastewater system. CEO Cyphers explained that the new types of closed-loop geothermal technologies SCP is pursuing uses a lot less water than traditional systems. And that's it, period. Those are not answers to questions. Man, I was amazed when I saw that. I was wondering myself what the GeoZone, why they were pursuing that so much, and the only thing I could relate to, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm a miner. I own 2 mining claims up in Nevada on BLM land, and there's rules and laws on that. It's been on the books for over 100 years. What it seemed to me that he was trying to do, what they were trying to do, and again, I'm not speaking that what their whole intent was. Was it would be like a mining claim that they would own the geo
You could wrap up,
resources.
Wes, if you could wrap up,
Okay,
please.
I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We have a new timer with a
Oh,
new sound.
see, I didn't hear it.
I heard it, I just didn't know if that's what it was.
Now that I know.
On your mark, get set. Good morning, board. This is Tom Lasik. I just wanted to bring to your attention a few really important things that happened today. The main one to celebrate, I think, is this is the day that the Statue of Liberty was dedicated. So I think we should celebrate that. Wait a minute, there was something else. Oh yeah, it's also National Chocolate Day. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone celebrates that and has that in recognition. And one of the things that's important to me is being of Czech heritage. This is the day that the Czechoslovakian Republic was formed, separating from the Austro-Hungarian Empire after World War I. And I think that's it. So I just want to make sure that we all, oh, wait. Oh, yes, it is Chair Crandall's birthday. So I want to wish him and happy birthday. He's done a great service to his country, to his county, to his tribe, and to the community. And I hope that we all celebrate this day, and I hope that you have another fantastic trip around the sun. So happy birthday.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. All right. Any other public input or comment? Is it public? It's public input, sorry. Sterling, if you can unmute.
All right. Good morning, board, and happy birthday, EJ. I hope you guys all got my email safe yesterday. I emailed you guys. So today I'm going to talk about the history of Lake County. So let's talk about how this all started. Sulphur Bank Mercury Mine began operating in the 1860s during the California Gold Rush. This mine was built on stolen Pomo tribal land. Outside companies came in, took that land, and stripped it of its natural resources, mercury from Sulphur Bank and other mercury mines across Lake County was essential for extracting gold throughout California. Lake County mercury helped build California's wealth. Then during World War I and World War II, these same mines supplied mercury to war industries. These outside corporations made millions, even billions of dollars. But the people of Lake County, especially the indigenous community who were here long before the mines, of the mine, got nothing but the environmental and health consequences. Because of this history, Clear Lake is now considered one of the most mercury contaminated lakes in the entire world. This isn't an opinion. It's documented by the USGS, EPA, and California Department of Health. Mercury from Sulphur Bank has been leaching into our waters, our fish, and our ecosystems for more than a century. Clear Lake Oaks Keys subdivision was built on toxic mercury-contaminated soil and is still leaching into the lake every single day. According to the cancer surveillance data from California Department of Public Health, Lake County's overall cancer incidence is significantly higher than the state average at roughly 22%. Clear Lake Oaks has the highest cancer rate in the entire county. This is not a coincidence. It's a result of centuries of environmental exploration and contamination. At the Redmond impound at Sulphur Bank Mine, 200 to 250 tons of methane gas has released into the air every single day. This is not a speculation. That's documented through environmental monitoring. This is happening right at the site where those outside industries made their fortune and left us with the consequences. It has directly impacted the health and the safety of our families, our children, and our tribal communities who have lived here long before those industries came. And let's be very clear about something. If there's a major seismic event triggered or worsened by increased geothermal activity, Lakeport would face little to no consequences, but communities like Clear Lake and Clear Lake Oaks could be wiped off the map. These are my people. This is where I live. It may not affect Lakeport, but it affects half of this county. The people who live close to the geothermal zones are the ones who will bear the danger, not those making the decisions from a distance. And most likely, if this push moves forward, it will be tribal lands that is taken. And again, that means the Elam.
Sterling, if you could wrap up, please.
Okay, sorry. So basically, I just want to give you guys the history and the reason why we shouldn't go jump in with Sonoma Clean Power. One last thing. When you guys asked why they wouldn't do the Potter Valley Dam,
can we wrap
Sonoma
up?
Clean Power is,
We're
or
way over
Sonoma
3
Waters
minutes.
with them. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. iPhone 12. You can unmute.
Hello, Sky Laywall, Pillsbury Family Farms. On September 23rd, 2025, Supervisor Sabatier publicly acknowledged that he has engaged in private discussions with the Lake County Sheriff's Department regarding certain individuals' criminal background, an admission that raises ethical red flags. If those discussions involve the Department of Justice background information obtained without fingerprints, signature, or written consent, then both the Supervisor Sabatier and the Sheriff's Department may have violated California Penal Code Section 11105 and 11142, laws that clearly state criminal history information is confidential and any unauthorized disclosure is a misdemeanor offense. What is more disturbing is how Supervisor Sabatier's conduct mirrors the behavior of Director Maria Turner's, whose pattern of disregard for privacy, due process, and ethical governance continues to stain this county's reputation. Supervisor Sabatier's subsequent policy suggestions that illegal cannabis cultivation or even the existence of warrants should serve as disqualifying factors for applicants only extend the same misuse of authority. Such recommendations were contrary to the intent of Prop 64 by California voters to end the criminalization of cannabis cultivators by trying to bring them into a regulated, transparent system. It was a promise to right historical wrongs, not a tool to rebuild the very barriers that sought to dismantle it. But that is what we are seeing in Lake County. Those barriers are being built and reconstructed brick by brick, rule by rule, under the direction of this board and executed by Director Maria Turtle. Together, your actions have transformed what should have been an equitable and explorative process is turning into a punitive apparatus targeting farmers, legacy cultivators, and minority-owned businesses, effectively sabotaging the county permit process. We continue to listen to her failed attempts to convince this board that under her leadership, projects won't be able to move forward for 2 years. That's a major issue within itself. During Director De Leon era, staff had the expertise. We've seen projects like Ursa Valley and Bachelor Valley that were able to navigate this county's requirements and move through the process in 6 months. Meanwhile, projects like mine were sidelined and buried on staff desk and left in limbo. There seems to be an impasse. You want projects approved, you want an ordinance written, and she claims she can present it at any time, but only after you allow her to hire a consultant. What we all see is her poor leadership. By placing a farm like mine under duress to commit a felony so this board can more easily justify taking my license. Let me be clear. Any government employee or government department head asking an applicant to solicit a sheriff or a judge to reverse a background determination is by definition solicitation of official influence, an unlawful act. But we see her publicly disclose farmer's social security number and doesn't care for the state or the federal privacy protections. But when it's reported to Deputy Cody White, he expressed fear to investigate, and not one single sheriff or deputy or county investigator within the Lake County Sheriff's Department is willing to step forward and investigate her unlawful actions. The Lake County Sheriff's Department made one thing clear. It has become legal in this county for a department head to pressure your constituents into committing a felony just to keep their license. Now we even have dispatchers defending her, attempting to convince us that her directive isn't what it appears to be. But that alone shows the culture and the collusion between Director Turner
You
and the
can wrap
sheriff's
up, please.
Moleha.
Thank you. All right, are there any other? All right, with that, we'll close public input at this time. Move on to our pet of the week.
Good morning. Officer Belial at Lake County Animal Control, and today we have Landon with us. He's about a year and a half old, shepherd lab mix. He is really good with other dogs. He's actually kind of scared of other dogs and cats as well. He's good with cats and scared of them as well. He's a scaredy boy. But he's really good with other people. He's pretty obedient, not high energy. He's probably not going to get a lot bigger. He's, like I said, he's about a year and a half old. He was found off of Highland Springs Road in Lakeport. So he seems pretty adaptable. Not high energy. And if anybody has any questions, you could always give us a call at 707-263-0278, or even come down to our shelter at 4949 Hellbush Drive in Lakeport. Check him out and other dogs or cats in the kennels as well. Thank you, guys. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Susan.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This weekend, we had Pumpkin and Paws, in which we had 2 adoptions at the ranch. And as a result of that, the ranch has agreed to sponsor 15 adoptions. So if you're still interested in adopting, there is money available to assist in the adoption fees and spay and neuter.
Nice. Thank you for that information. Yeah, it's helpful.
Pawan, he likes you.
I thought that was like a sound for him when our timer went off.
Gotcha.
6.3, presentation of proclamation recognizing October 2025 as Filipino American History Month in Lake County. And are you reading this, Lloyd? That's what Johanna said.
Nice, nice.
If you're here for this proclamation, please come up and stand with us.
Should I do that?
Oh, yeah, sure. You can do the Tagalog. Yeah, and I'll do it that way. Oh, wait. Yeah, that's yours, right? Yeah, let's trade. All right. So as we did last year, we're going to go ahead and read this in English and also in Tagalog. And so Lloyd will help me with that. I would try, but I'll mess it up. I still mess up my own cultural language, so I don't want to mess up the Filipino language. So I'll start out with this proclamation recognizing October 2025 as Filipino American History Month in Lake County. Do you want to? It's the same. Okay. Whereas the celebration of Filipino American History Month in October commemorates the first recorded presence of Filipinos in the continental United States, which occurred on October 18th, 1587, when Luzones Indios came ashore from the Spanish galleon Nuestra Señora de Esperanza and landed what is now Morro Bay, California, and
Whereas ang pagdiriwang ng Filipino-American History Month noong Oktubre ay ginugunita ang unang naitalang presensya ng mga Pilipino sa continental ng Estados Unidos na naganap noong Oktubre 18, 1587 nung dumating ang Luzones Indios mula sa Spanish galleon na Nuestra Señora de Esperanza at dumaong sa Morro Bay, California.
And whereas in 2009, U.S. Congress recognized October as Filipino American History Month in the United States, various states, counties, and cities in the U.S. have established proclamations and resolutions declaring observance of Filipino American History Month. And
Whereas noong 2009, kinilala ng Kongreso ng Estados Unidos ang Oktubre bilang Filipino-American History Month sa Estados Unidos, ang iba't ibang lugar at lungsod sa Estados Unidos ay nagtatag ng mga proklamasyon at resolusyon na nagdedeklara ng pagdiriwang ng Filipino-American History Month.
whereas the late Dr. Fred Cordova, along with his wife, Filipino American National Historical Society, FANHS, founder Dr. Dorothy Laigo Cordova, first introduced October as Filipino American History Month in 1992 with a resolution from the FANHS National Board of Trustees marking 2025 as the 33rd anniversary of Filipino American History Month celebration nationally. And
Whereas si Dr. Fred Cordova kasama ang kanyang asawa si Dr. Dorothy Laigo Cordova ng Filipino-American National Historical Society, FANHS, ay unang ipinakilala ng Oktubre bilang Filipino-American History Month noong 1992 na may resolusyon mula sa FANHS National Board of Trustees at nagmarka ng 2025 bilang ika-33 anibersaryo ng pagdiriwang ng Filipino-American History Month sa buong bansa.
whereas, as early as the 1930s, Filipino immigrants significantly contributed to the history of Lake County, California, and the United States, most notably as laborers recruited to support the agricultural industry, as medical professionals to deliver health care, as servicemen and servicewomen to enlist in the armed services, and as pioneers who settled in the United States and Lake County to build communities. And
Whereas noong dekada ng 1930, malaki ang naiambag ng mga Pilipinong imigrante sa kasaysayan ng Lake County, California at Estados Unidos, lalo na bilang mga manggagawang para suportahan ang industriya ng agrikultura, bilang mga medikal na profesional para sa kalusugan, bilang mga nagtatrabaho sa militar at sa mga tumira sa Estados Unidos at Lake County para sa taong bayan.
Whereas Filipino Americans have made Lake County their place to live, work, and play, continuing to present day and continue into present day, and into the future, greatly contributing to the local and broader culture and economy, which enriches Greater Lake County, and Lake County takes pride in the diverse workforce, which includes talented Filipino Americans in the local workforce. And
Whereas ginawa ng mga Pilipinong Amerikano ang Lake County bilang kanilang lugar upang manirahan at magtrabaho na nagpapatuloy at lubos na nag-aambag sa kultura at ekonomiya para sa pamayanan ng Lake County at ipinagmamalaki ng Lake County ang nagtatrabaho na kinabibilangan ng mga mahusay na nagtatrabahong Pilipinong Amerikano sa pamumunong posisyon. At
whereas the County of Lake will commemorate Filipino American History Month each October to honor and share the rich tapestry of Filipino American art, history, culture, and identity. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Lake County Board of Supervisors declares the month of October 2025 as Filipino American History Month in Lake County and encourages the community to engage and celebrate in Filipino American festivities throughout the month. Passed and adopted this 28th day of October 2025, signed by myself.
whereas gugunitain ng County of Lake ang Filipino-American History Month tuwing Oktubre upang parangalan at ibahagi ang mayamang sining, kasaysayan, kultura at pagkakakilanlan ng Filipino-American at ngayon kaya ipinahayag na dineklara ng Lake County Board of Supervisors ang buwan ng October 2025 bilang Filipino-American History Month sa Lake County at hinihikayat ng taong bayan na makisali sa pagdiriwang itong buwan. Passed and adopted this 28th day of October 2025.
Thank you very much for reading that, Lloyd. Would anyone like to speak? Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Virginia Sereno. Just to bring a personal note to this proclamation, my own father emigrated here in 1927. He was 21 years old. He had reached 6th grade in his barrio, and the school system in the Philippines was set up by the American system, established by, I think, the Tomasians, a religious organization. And so he came over here with his first cousin in 1927. During that time, his generation, they were not allowed to marry white women. They were only allowed to marry Filipino women, according to federal law. So I've met in my lifetime Caucasian women who did marry Filipino men illegally and were able to raise families, but they had to hide it in secret because they were in danger of arrest. So his whole generation was not allowed to marry. You have to understand that. So all these single men came over, were not able to establish families. Post-World War II, after many of them served under General MacArthur to serve on the American side, they were able to go back to the Philippines and marry women, including my mother, and she was a whole generation younger than my dad. Her father actually went to school with my father. So you can understand, because of the impact of the laws at that time, there was a whole dysfunction and disjointed of these families. You'll see them who have very older fathers and very younger mothers. So, and I am a product of one of those families. Both of them believed in education. Myself and my two siblings are college educated because that's one of the reasons they came to America. And my father promised my mother that he would pay for her college education. He never did. So that always came up during their arguments. So the other thing I can say is that in my family, my maternal grandfather was instrumental in saving an American fighter pilot who had parachuted over the barrio where they lived. And he was mayor of the town at that time, my grandfather. But he was picked up by the Japanese and was tortured and never revealed where the soldier was. And they were hiding him where they keep the rice at. So I'm very proud of them for that. So this history is very important to us.
As the proclamation stated, we've been here since 1500s. There are families in New Orleans that can trace their heritage back to the Philippines 10 generations. So I want to let you know that. Anyway, we're here. We're not going anywhere. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, I'm Layla Romero. I work for the county in the Health Services Department, and I just want to say how wonderful it is to be seen and acknowledged, because I am a first-generation Filipino American, and I didn't grow up seeing people who looked like myself. Not that I was watching Board of Supervisors meetings growing up, but I'm sure that if I did, I would have loved to seen a proclamation like this, and it's beautiful to hear my parents' language being spoken on this stage. And history is so important. You know, no history, no self. And growing up, on the East Coast in New York, I didn't know about the Manongs, about Larry Itliong and his work in the Delano Grape Strike, working for workers' rights, and even the Luzones Indios. And so having that history makes me feel more connected to myself and to my ancestors. And as a Filipino American in Lake County, I do my best to make my ancestors proud and my future descendants proud. And I just want to say how honored I am to have our history acknowledged. Thank you.
Well, I will say one other thing is that although there was no their integration wasn't allowed with the Caucasians, our Native communities, we have at least 3 or 4 families in my tribe that yes, and dating back to the 30s and 20s. So there's that. Is there anyone that would like to say anything on the dice, please?
I'll just add similar comments to prior proclamations that are similar. Any day that we get to celebrate the diversity of our community and acknowledge the diversity within our community is a good day. I think that we don't walk in everybody's shoes, and sometimes to be recognized can make a difference. And so we get to do that here through proclamations, and thank you for bringing this.
Anyone from the public who would like to say anything? If not, we'll go ahead and close this item and take our picture.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, let's do one more. Thank you. Oh, wait.
1, 2, 3.
All right. We'll move on to our next item, 6.4. Public hearing, consideration of appeal PL 2522 AB 24-06 of the Planning Commission's approval of major use permit UP 23-05 and initial study IS 23-10 for the Ag Forest Wood Processing Bioenergy Project located at 755 East State Highway 20, Upper Lake APN 004-01004. Appellant Larry Kahn, continued from May 20th, June 17th, and August 26th. And we have Community Development Director Maria Turner.
Good morning. Maria Turner, Community Development Director. At the August 26th Board of Supervisors meeting, this item was continued because we were seeking clarification from the state regarding the ability or the authorization to lease this particular project parcel to this particular project permit. We were waiting for quite a while because they said they weren't going to talk to us while their budget process was going on. But we did actually hear back from them, but they asked more questions.
1 second, I think Lloyd, I'm sorry for interrupting.
That's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for your board's reference, your board may want to take testimony, whether we're dealing with the substantive merits of the appeal itself, or perhaps possibly a request for continuance. Your board may want to swear in any potential witnesses who may want to speak on that matter.
We'll go ahead and swear. If you're here on this behalf of this item, we'll swear in. Please stand and raise your hand, and Johanna will lead you in this. portion of it.
If you're on Zoom and you're going to speak on this item, please raise your hand in the Zoom room. We have Marsha Birch. All right. So with your right hand raised, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
All right. Please continue.
Thank you. We did hear back from the state, but they were asking more questions. So I do request a continuance of 1 month of this item so that we can continue to conclude our dialogue with the state and have some sort of confirmation.
Right. How does everyone feel about that? Or is
I
it,
think we need it from the state. We need the information as far as where because it sounds like there's legalities to it.
So I think we have a contract before us from the state. I know that I've had many conversations with the state on multiple departments where they will say something over the phone, but they will never put anything in writing because they do not want us using their words in things like this, where then the liability goes on them for why we use those statements. My guess is we're never going to get a very clear answer from the state. That's just my opinion, because this has been dragging on forever. It's not that difficult to respond to these questions. We have a contract that we can look at. We have a applicant that's been waiting. We have an appellant who's been waiting, and this has been going for quite some time. So I'm okay with moving forward today with what we have before us, but that's just my opinion.
Brad, did you have something?
Well, I was interested in hearing anything further from Water Resources Director regarding conversations that he may have had with the state before I weighed in on
the
whether or
continuance?
not to continue it. But
Yeah,
I also tend to agree that I don't know why they're not. Seems like we'd have an answer by now. I mean, so I'm not sure why the state's taken so long.
Perhaps the director, Apadihe, can speak to when we did get a response from the state, because I only got a portion of their stuff. I didn't see the actual email.
I was going to ask Lloyd if I can call up the Director of Water Resources and get some insight.
Yes.
Yes. Director Apadieh, can you shine some light on this, please?
Hello everyone, Pawan Upadhyay, Lake County Water Resources Director. So I think the question we had here is like previously, which was asked with the state, is whether it's even allowed to use the funding dollars, and can this be allocated, because there are tax implications depending on where that funding is coming from. So that was cleared by the state, like as far as the tax purpose is included, that won't be a problem for us, because overall, like how it works, the bigger funding and some part of it can be used for purpose like this. The other question, the other big question on that was about the conservation easement. So as a condition of the grant, we are required to have a conservation easement put on all the parcels we are acquiring. And the timing of that is kind of a little bit critical, because we can put the conservation easement when the parcel is purchased, or it can be done like when all the parcels are purchased for the purpose of the project. So there is some ambiguity there, but it is for certain that we need to put a conservation easement on that parcel. And the proposed project is in, like, you can do only one. Either you can have the project there or you can have the conservation easement. So there is like this conflict there. And the question with the state have asked is pertains to other things, but they have iterated in their email to me saying they want to have this conservation easement put in at some point. And if we are not putting the conservation easement, that would be the violation of the grant agreement. And that can lead up to losing the funding or the future funding or the current one we have, and that does include the interest payment, back payment for the grant we have. So that was the response from the state.
Thank you for that. Did you have something to add?
If I could just add a little detail to that encroachment permit, which I think is similar to what Director Patier is referring to. The state said, we don't have one on file for this parcel. Is it possible that the required encroachment permits will be completed after all the parcels are acquired? That is a fairly common practice in other projects. So this is not a deal killer for this potential permit because this permit, the use at this parcel was always meant to be temporary. So that's why I would appreciate opportunity for further clarification from the state.
Okay. Is there anything else to add or?
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying, like it is only one thing you can do. Either you put the conservation easement or the project. So if the project is there for, let's say, 10 years, and we are not planning to have the project within 10 years, maybe it might be possible to have both. But at the same time, like if we think that the project gonna be there for 20 years and we are planning to have the Middle Creek project implemented on ground within 20 years, then I think probably conservation easement should take priority.
All right.
And this was never intended for 20 years. It's a 10-year maximum.
Brad, did you have something or?
Well, this brings up other questions for me, like, the timeline on the Middle Creek project now with this information. So, and I'm not sure how to address that.
I took the liberty of calling yesterday one of the people that are listed in one of the emails that was given through the Public Request Act and all this other stuff, because I wanted to talk to Director Apadier, but I've got information from him, so I went to the source and talked to them. A lot of what is being discussed now isn't necessarily going to be affected by the conservation easement situation. It's separate. I know that there was some information in the email that stated invoices wouldn't be paid, but that had to do basically with supporting documents. So that's one thing. It wouldn't, according to the conversation I had, again, it was on the phone, so it wasn't documented. But that is a separate situation. But that's what I gathered from there. They really don't have, from what I was told, they don't have a recommendation either way. But they said they're not experts in the situation. So that was one of the other things said. And that, they basically just didn't really give like a yes or no type of thing. They just said it's up to us. But they were concerned when they received the information and stated that they were surprised. So yeah, and they did talk about the conservation easement being a necessity as well. But as to what you both are saying, I think it's either way. I think it's this decision we have to make. Go ahead, Supervisor Sabatier.
If I may request, who specifically did you speak to? Or what department?
It was let me pull the email real quick. Let me pull it. So just give me a second. Here we go. It was Nahida Mandakar. She's part of the Department of Water Resources. It didn't really say her position. It just said that was her name, PE. I don't know.
I want to say Nahida has probably been in some of our meetings. The name sounds familiar.
Yeah.
So in the Middle Creek Restoration Committee meetings.
Yes, she is the project manager for the Middle Creek project. Yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, that was the discussion I had. I don't know if that helps, but I know for me, I'm willing to move forward today if everyone else is.
Yeah, I think that helps. It sounds like, based on what I'm hearing now, that it's really the county's decision on whether or not that project can be at that location. And I realize conservation easement's required, but it sounds like that could be delayed until whenever, from what I'm hearing.
If I may provide, I don't know that we responded to your question. As far as timeline goes, we don't have a set timeline. The requirement right now is to acquire the rest of the properties. I believe we are down to about 15 properties.
Yeah, somewhat about that.
Yeah,
And
right.
we do have some coming in the
Because we
next few
approved
weeks.
about 10 or something along those lines properties, so that Water Resources is working on getting into escrow, so that will dwindle. We also do have at least a couple non-willing sellers that we're trying to figure out what to do with at this moment in time. So nothing is done this year. There have been some issues with the federal government. They were doing a revalidation study, I believe is the title of it, to re-review the environmental impact of the project before continuing, and that's the Army Corps that's been redoing that study. At this moment in time, funding has been taken away for their scoping of that revalidation study. That doesn't mean that the project is dead. We just know that there's a lot of shuffling around going on in the federal government when it comes to funding and programs and things like that, and prioritizations. So not going to finish this year, but I do have my concerns that if the operation is still going and we're ready to move forward with Middle Creek Restoration, I will say I think the Middle Creek Restoration project is the most important project in this entire county, because it is the health of the lake, which that impacts every community, from the drinking water to the ecology to the economy that we have. So there could be a perfect situation where one goes in, one leaves, and then the project happens. But there could also be a situation where we find ourselves in an awkward moment.
If I may, I'd like to ask Larry, are you here? Larry, if you can come up and shed some light, if you would like, how you feel about a continuance or not a continuance. As you can see, we have 4 people here. There's potential for a 2-2 lockup, but just want to get your input and insight so that way it's on the record.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak. You obviously know my my position is to not have that project there. It's the wrong spot for it.
Well, I understand that. I think that's the whole point of your appeal. But what I'm saying is, as for a continuance, would you want to move forward today or continue? And I just want to highlight that there's 4 supervisors here. There's potential for it to be a tie. So I just wanted to get your input and insight on that.
I would rather not have it rushed. I think you need to get more information. There's still a lot of stuff out there, a lot of conflicting information, stuff that wasn't done properly when the place was purchased. I think it needs a lot more review by you guys on what's going on. To let this thing go through now is just rushing it through, and I don't think that would serve any purpose.
Do you think a month is enough time?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Needs a few months. But that's just my guess. I believe our lawyer is on Zoom here, and she might be able to give us a better opinion. But you asked for my opinion, that's my opinion.
If you're okay with if everyone's okay with the attorney shedding some light.
I am.
Okay. All right. Yeah. If you would pull up.
If it's about the continuation
Yes.
at this moment in time,
That's what I'm talking about now, because I don't want to jump into it without knowing your stance. And if you want your attorney to shed some light on it, I want to make sure that you have that opportunity to give your insight and not just kind of make the decision without hearing you. You know what I'm saying?
And Mr. Chair, if I may, just to make sure the public is aware, I'm sure that Mr. Khan is aware of this, but if there is a 2-2, it is not a kick down the road continuation, it is a denial.
Right.
I just want to make sure the public is aware of that.
Right.
Right. So I don't know if the attorney's on Zoom, if you would, okay. If you can unmute and please.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so I appreciate the chair pointing out that there are 4 members of the board present today, and I agree with my client that a continuance is necessary at this point. I do think that the reason for the continuance has been to get answers from the state, and as the discussion has highlighted here today, there probably isn't going to be a clear yes or no, you can go ahead and approve this project or not on this property. I think the Director of Water Resources makes some very clear points about the fact that it's either the project or the conservation easement. And I disagree that the conservation easement is something that can be delayed to some uncertain point in the future. Those were the state taxpayers purchased that property. And a requirement that comes with that grant agreement is to place that conservation easement and to zone that property for open space. It is within the floodplain. It will be part of what is inundated as part of the project. And the encroachment permit is not, there's no guarantee for an encroachment permit. And I think the idea of rolling the dice and saying maybe this biochar facility will be finished and out of the way before the actual need for this property comes into play as part of the Middle Creek project. I don't think that's a responsible use of taxpayer money. I don't think it's a risk that the county should take with county resources. There's an email that I received from Myrea Turner yesterday. There's a copy of it that's been distributed to you today. At the bottom of that message, very clearly, DWR indicates that if those conservation easements are not recorded and the zoning to open space does not occur, that the grant fund, it won't just stop the flow of grant money. It could potentially end in the county being required to return the grant funding that has been received with interest. That's a significant risk. And I don't know if the county, wants to take that risk, but I think that's something that needs to be disclosed to the decision makers and to the public, that that's the level of risk that is being considered in saying, well, maybe if we approve this project, it will be out of the way before we really get into trouble with the state. So I do think that some additional conversation with the state about the timing of the conservation easement and how this property fits into the Middle Creek project. It's part of a state-funded project that the taxpayers are paying for. So I think that this idea that it can be used, for other purposes in the meantime, really needs to be explored for the legality and, just the responsibility associated with that. So we are in agreement that some additional time to work through this with the state, but I think that the answer that is being sought from the state is more complicated than just, will you give us a yes or no on this lease? I do think that the state should be more straightforward and quicker in their responses, but that's not something that I think we're going to see. So I appreciate all the time that the board has devoted to this as this continues to be continued. But I do think that some real exploration into the question of what is the purpose of this property, how was it funded, what is the county's responsibility going forward with this property, and that email that I provided to you today, really it focuses in on the questions that DWR is asking. And I think what we were waiting for with the last continuance was an answer from DWR, and what they came back with was questions. And I think those questions are elucidating. So I would hope that the board would have a look at that. And that's all I have for now, unless you have any questions.
Do you have a question?
So I want to ask our county council. I'm going to read what's in our contract with DWR when it comes to Middle Creek Reclamation Agreement. And it's under the definitions of easement. And it prescribes at one point at the very top. Let me get back to that so I can at least read where it references it. It says 56 parcels require acquisition and fee, purchase of overflow easements, or need a hydraulic mitigation. Administration task, easement purchase. Continues on. And the grantee or its successor may, with the approval of the state, transfer this responsibility to use, manage, and maintain the property acquired and discussed in easement, which is under the standard term Exhibit A. And the standard term Exhibit A says, where the grantee acquires property and fee title or funds improvements, I'm going to read the rest so I don't skip anything, but the rest is more specifics, to real property already owned in fee by the grantee using state funds provided through this funding agreement, comma, an appropriate easement or other title restriction providing for floodplain preservation and agricultural and or wildlife habitat conservation for the subject property in perpetuity approved by the state shall be conveyed. I want to go back to the beginning of that definition. Where the grantee acquires property and fee title or funds improvements, I'm going to skip the middle part, an appropriate easement or other title restriction providing shall be conveyed. Can you define to me what where means within the context of that sentence? Does it mean when we acquire the property, we shall do an easement? Or, because there's no timeline in here, but yet we have easements on certain properties and not conservation easements on certain properties and not others, because I have a copy of one. I'm just trying to figure out legally, what does that stand for? Because if it's upon purchase and acquiring of the property, we're supposed to do this, then I think that understanding of the legal the legal interpretation of that matters to this board. Because again, I don't think the state's going to tell us how to legally interpret their documents. They're here to protect themselves, not us. So I don't think we're going to get any further details if we wait 3 months, 6 months. I think we're going to be right back at the same point. I think we're wasting everybody's time if we continue. But I need our county council to help us interpret what A17 of our contract means under easements, where it says where the grantee acquires property. Because in English, doesn't necessarily make perfect sense. In legal terms, when I look it up, it means upon purchase of the property. I don't know if that's true or not. I am not a lawyer, so I'm asking.
So for purposes of whether or not a continuance should be granted, if it hinges on that provision, that staff may need more time, and by staff, I mean my office may need more time to look into that. My first suggestion would be to seek further clarification from the state. And if the state has already addressed that particular issue and in some way, somehow, to some degree, does not provide a clear answer or refuses to answer that clarifying question, then you can certainly take that to your board's consideration. Seeking clarification from the state, of course, would take time, and therefore that would be in support of the granting of the continuance. But if your board feels that it would not provide a sufficient answer from the state, then you have the provision in front of you in which how you've interpreted it or how you've construed it, where the word "where" would be construed as upon. It's a conditional. If to put it another way, upon, or it could be used as or it could be construed as if. When this happens or where this event occurs, then these other events will follow from that. That's how it's generally interpreted. But short of actually having the contract in front, your board has the option of providing a recess, and staff or my office or myself, it would be myself, could look into that further, and your and your board can certainly trail this matter for further review as to that provision, if that's going to dictate, if your board feels that that's going to dictate whether or not this gets continued or not. But the construction or interpretation of that provision is fair enough. Generally, that's how it's been interpreted, where the word "where" would be upon this event happening, then this happens. Generally,
Thank you for that last statement. I appreciate that. And again, I want to highlight what it says: an appropriate easement or other title restriction providing for floodplain preservation, agricultural and or wildlife habitat conservation for the subject property in perpetuity. Our goal was to take a step forward, acquire the property. In order to do those things, in my opinion, this project goes in the reverse of doing those things. We didn't buy the property so we can have a power plant or do biochar. We had a property so we can conserve the wildlife, floodplain preservation, and continue on with this project. This project cannot move. Middle Creek is where Middle Creek is. This project, the Middle Creek project, cannot move. This concept of a biochar facility, we've already approved one to happen in Red Hills. It does not have to be on a very specific property. It can be in 65,000 other properties that we have in Lake County, possibly, depending on the zone. But that to me is probably the most important paragraph that we have to read and understand in any of the decisions we make. I just wanted to thank you for your interpretation of that.
So again, thank you, Supervisor Sabatier. So on going back to the issue of whether or not your board should grant the continuance, that provision alone, if your board feels that provision needs to be looked into further, then that would be in support of the continuance for staff to look into that, to that particular provision and how it interprets, because how it's cited is one thing, that's one angle of it, but taken as a whole in the contract over a whole document, which I don't have in front of me, that may take some time. And so along with that, with Director Turner's request, that may, with your board direction, of course, could at least attempt to reach out to the state for that specific provision. That can be given via direction to your board. But all of that would take some time, and therefore that would be in line with the continuance request.
And then I've seen Dr. Rapadie, you want to shed some light, and then I'll go to you, Director Turner. Right?
Yeah. Just to add a little bit to the question before, so the email copy which has been provided to you, if you look at the very third last paragraph and the last line in that, that's coming from DWR, and that was a question and a comment after that. It says, is it possible that the required encroachment permit will be completed after all parcels are acquired? Then the question mark, and then they have a statement there saying, this is fairly common practice in other projects. So basically, like what they're saying is like that does happen, that like once all the parcels are acquired, we put the conservation easement or encroachment permit all at the same time.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I'm not seeing it,
It's
but I hear it.
It's the paragraph that's below bullet points.
Below the red ones.
It says, is it possible that the required encroachment permits will be completed after all parcels are acquired? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, yeah. And then there is a comment saying this is fairly common practice in other projects.
I don't have the same thing, I guess.
It's on right here, Bruno.
Second page right here.
So,
I thought it was one of the questions.
find it. All right. Go ahead, Director Turner.
The next tentative date that's not packed that would have all 5 supervisors would be December 16th at 10:30.
I want to see if Mr. Khan, if you would please come up and shed some light if that would be a good date or if you would like to see something else. Marcia?
Yes. December 16th is fine for me. I can't see Larry on the Zoom screen, so I don't know if he's
Yes.
agreeing to that as well.
Go ahead, Larry.
I yield to you.
On the final page of the letter I submitted to the board a few days ago, you'll find the Exhibit C from the contract. It's the Flood Protection Corridor Program, Middle Creek Flood Damage Reduction and Ecosystem Restoration Project, detailed budget and timeline. Exhibit C, and you have that. And on the bottom of that chart, acquire easement.
What does this have to do with the timeline that we're looking at, or?
This says you have 36 months
Okay.
to place the easement. It is in our contract.
And so
Your contract.
what's I mean, I'm asking about the continuance. Is that something that,
Well, just to answer up the question of when the conservation easement should have been placed, I wanted Larry to know that there was additional information.
okay. Okay. And so as for the continuance, Larry, I don't know if what you,
16th of December.
Just yield to the lawyer on it. Yield to Marcia.
We'll yield to Marcia.
So Larry, if you're available on the 16th of December, that date is fine for me.
16th it is then.
All right.
so how does the board feel about that?
I'm okay with that.
Right. So with that, do I need to open it up to the public for?
On the, thank you, Mr. Chair. On the issue of the continuance and the proposed date.
Okay. Yes, so I'll open it up to the public for the continuance, the matter of the continuance.
Good morning, Board. Tom Lasik. I'm going to suggest that you bifurcate this hearing and just rule on whether the county has the jurisdictional authority to render a decision. Also in the contract, it states that the land can't be sold or leased unless it has consent from the state. So the question is, does the county have the consent from the state to have actually leased this land? If it's not clear, SEQA requires an EIR. So you can just discuss that portion of the hearing as to whether there is even jurisdictional authority. The fact that you're asking, we don't know the answer, from a SEQA perspective, that's cause enough to require an EIR. When there is uncertainty, those questions are answered through an EIR. In this case, SEQA requires that the project be legally suitable for proposed use. And the things that go with the land are deeds, easements, the terms and conditions of the contract that was agreed to between the county and the state. And that goes with the land. And right now, it looks like the land was leased without the state's permission. So you can have a conversation just on that topic and then discuss the merits of the other aspects of the hearing. But it doesn't look like, and you're still waiting for answers, as you mentioned, from the state, which you probably won't get, but you could probably just discuss, do you have the legal authority to make a decision on that if you don't have permission from the state to even lease the land? Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Wes Baker, Lower Lake. The questions that you're asking for the continuance, I'm for the continuance. Keep in mind, there's the four corners rule in contract law, and the entire whole contract. This is what matters, not what's said on a phone, other people's interpretations. You can, a judge can interpret this if it need be. County council can give advice on it. I said before in the past up here, I've gone to law school. I've got a Juris Doctorate degree. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving legal advice. But I can honestly say, during the law school, we spent one whole year just on contract law. just on what's inside these four corners. And these four corners, this is the contract here. These four corners have a lot of things in there that are very, very specific of what can be done with that property and what can't be done with that property. And I think when you look towards the contract, when council is provided with the whole document, which he says he doesn't have, I think you're going to find that this is pretty simple. The questions that you have are asked and answered, all pretty much here. Whether the state's going to interpret it, they probably won't. They don't have to. They wrote it here. It's in this. There was a benefit for the bargain. We got millions of dollars here in the county to help restore Middle Creek. We need to keep it that way. And this explains it all. Capping wells, getting rid of roads, jackhammering out concrete, not using the wells, not bringing in gravel, tons and tons of gravel and all that. So, yeah, continuance. This is what needs to be researched, honestly. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Wes. Any other public comment? Any on Zoom? No hands on Zoom? All right, so it looks like that we will do a continuance, December 16th. We'll come back at 10:30. And so I think it's imperative that when we have this next, I think we said something to the effect that we would like this to be the last continuance when it came to this date, right? I think it's imperative that how would we be able to state that to make sure that that's the date? I mean, of course, it's always subjective to the board, but I just wanted on record that it really, I know for me, I would really like it to be the last time we discuss it and be finished with it.
And I appreciate that comment, and I think it means nothing if we continue it again, if we say this is the last one when we already said it's the last one, and I'm just going to express it. I'm slightly frustrated that our county council has not been asked to review something that we very much specifically knew was what this was hanging on, and that now we have a continuation to ask county council. Maybe I don't know something that did happen and we're continuing for other reasons, but the information I have here is we've been waiting on the state to tell us what to do when we have a entire department of lawyers that can review this contract to see where we stand, and the fact that that hasn't been done is a little frustrating to me when that's the thing that kind of has been stalling this in the first place. So I will not be voting for the continuance. I already voted that it was going to be the last time. Just letting you know.
All right. Lloyd, did you have anything to add to that, or?
Yes, if your board would like to proceed with a continuance to a date and time certain, it would be by motion to continue it to a date and time certain.
All right.
Mr. Chair, public comment closed.
Yes, closed it.
If there's nothing further, I'll move to continue this public hearing to a date and time certain of December 16th at 10:30 a.m.
I would prefer to go with it today. However, because Mr. Kuhn has asked for it to be continued, I'll go ahead and go with what he's asking.
So are you seconding?
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
continue.
Okay, so you have he motioned. Do you want to second?
Second it.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-1. So we will see this item on December 16th, and from there we'll make sure that County Council has a lot of time to review this and make sure that we have enough information to go ahead and move forward that day. I'm sure that Dr. Apadier and Director Turner, you'll be able to have some more information at that date as well. So we'll close this item and take a 10-minute break.
Good to go, Chair.
All right. Welcome back from our break. We'll go ahead and move on to our next item, our 6.5, consideration of presentation in the UC Cooperative Extension Forestry Program. All right, Mr. Jones.
do have a flash drive. And we can do this real quick without a presentation if you guys want.
If I may, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
While we're waiting for the PowerPoint to come on, I know that we have Mr. Jones from the forestry program here. Every time that he speaks, I feel like I'm learning something. I feel like I'm in school learning. So I always appreciate you, your knowledge, your expertise, and just how you provide your information. So appreciate seeing you here today.
Yeah, thank you. Well, good?
Yeah, you're
Okay.
good. Yeah.
Good morning, Chair Crandall, members of the board. My name is Michael Jones. I am the University of California Cooperative Extension Forest Advisor for Lake County. I also cover Mendocino and Sonoma counties. Our director, UC Extension Director, Matthew Barnes, couldn't make it today, but he sends his regards. And as you all are aware, we've been kind of having our different advisors come and present about the programs that we offer through Extension. So I'm just here to talk about my forestry program in the county. Kind of my elevator pitch is that, essentially what my program is aimed to do is to conduct outreach, education, and research on forestry-related topics in the goal of helping landowners, land stewards, and managers manage and steward their coastal conifer and oak woodlands, conifer forests and oak woodlands. And so that's very vague and huge topic. So that means I'm doing a lot of stuff. So I'm just going to highlight kind of 3 areas that I'm really working on, specifically in Lake County, and issues that I'm dealing with landowners and working with the board as well on some issues. So a really big space that I'm active in the county, specifically in Lake County, is addressing oak woodland stewardship issues. We have a lot of incredibly diverse ecosystems in Lake County, but oak woodlands are certainly huge and important part of that ecosystem, and there's lots of challenges in this space. And so really understanding stewardship and how to help landowners manage for these different resources and different values they have in this space. So very active in stewardship in oak woodlands, both in kind of thinking about managing for the health and resilience for disturbance, specifically addressing wildfire risk and fuels reduction and a lot of that stuff that we kind of think about, that we're concerned about wildfires affecting our communities, but how do we make our woodlands more resilient and healthy and prepare them for an eventual wildfire and other types of disturbances that will occur. This includes helping to build capacity around the use of prescribed fire, and not just fire as a tool, but really building capacity to help the community itself use fire as a tool, as a stewardship tool through the creation and development of prescribed burn associations or community groups that have gotten the training and the capacity to actually implement fire on private land and do it safely and effectively. And then, thinking about managing for disturbance, but also coming in after disturbances and helping landowners deal with, what do we do after wildfire or different disturbance or, tree mortality event? How do we address these issues and what are the resources available to help us in this space? Thinking to a larger scale, forest health issues is something that we deal a lot with in this county. We happen to be in a particularly interesting area as far as the climate and the habitats. And so there's a lot of forest health challenges here. Right now, as I spoke with y'all a couple weeks ago or date, I can't remember at this point, but I was here speaking about Mediterranean oak borer. So dealing with new invasive insects and how do we address those challenges in this space. But also, I worked with y'all a few years ago on the larger mortality issues we were seeing following our little drought event we had and addressing some of the challenges of how do we manage for that and helping you guys draft your declaration, a resolution on tree mortality and trying to get help from the state and really addressing those issues. So not just thinking about helping landowners, but really at the larger landscape scale, how do we address some of these challenges in this space? And then lastly, those topics are specific issues or subjects that we work on, but in a larger context, we try to provide educational content for stewardship and outreach. And so we've hosted and continue to host and very involved in this program of hosting these forest stewardship workshop series throughout the state. But we've had several in Lake County, including one that was forest stewardship and thinking about, doing all the management, developing a management plan, getting funding to do forest stewardship practices, but also thinking in that same space of post-fire management, how do we address these issues? What are the resources available? And that's just a couple examples. We're hosting a lot of workshops, especially around Mediterranean oak borer right now, both community meetings as well as training for tree care professionals and other issues that are coming up right now that we're trying to help the community be more informed and help them connect with the resources available to help them make these decisions and be good stewards of the land. I told you it's going to be fast. I know we're like way off schedule, so I'll try to get through this real quick. But I'd really appreciate y'all giving myself and my colleagues time to really present and help keep you aware of our programs and how we can support you in your efforts and, you know, help Lake County in their endeavors for stewardship. That's my contact information. Please feel free to reach out if you have questions. And I certainly hope I have some time now if you have anything you want to bring up now, but thank you for your time.
Supervisor Sabatier?
So we spoke a little bit, as you mentioned, about the mobs last time that we were together, and that's more specifically dealing with the oak woodland. The conifers, that's why we have an emergency declaration for tree mortality. I think we started out, we thought it was something like 31,000 trees. Now we're up to like maybe 200,000 trees. Can you give us a little bit more of a status of where we are? Have there been changes due to the fact that the drought status has changed? I don't think we're ever truly out of a drought situation here in California.
Yeah.
If you can give us a little bit of an update, but because of the fact that we have that emergency declaration, where are we at, and have we seen anything from the state? I don't believe we have seen any specific dollars like other counties saw. I think it was around the 2015 time period, around the Yosemite area. They definitely saw some dollars from the state. I don't think we saw that level of response.
Yeah. My hope was, and kind of working with y'all on that, was like we could leverage that. There's still a statewide declaration for tree mortality following that 15 through 17 drought. And that was, you know, we're talking hundreds of millions of trees were dying in that event. And so we are a much smaller scale, but the hope was to leverage some of that capacity and resources to help in Lake County and other parts of kind of the North Coast and the North Interior that were dealing with the tree mortality. As far as I'm aware, it hasn't really resulted in any additional funding coming in to the end of the region. But it's certainly something that, you know, with the state, and I always get the name wrong, but the Forest Resiliency Task Force, or whatever they call themselves now, it's something that we're able to kind of go to that group and say, look, these issues are persistent and the counties are aware of it and they need support. So it's still a valuable leveraging tool to kind of get political attention on the issue, to kind of drive maybe some of the economic incentives long term. But yeah, it's challenging. And the other thing is, you suggested, is we had a relatively mild summer. We've had on average precipitation, and so we've seen not a complete stop of tree mortality, but it slowed down relative to what it was a few years ago. And that's always a challenge too. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but it's a challenge to keep people paying attention, right? If the trees stop dying as fast as they were, we're like, oh, it's not a problem anymore. You're like, well, it's still a concern. So that's the other thing we're seeing, is that mortality has slowed down to some extent, but it'll pick up as soon as it dries out again. And then the other big challenge in this space is we rely a lot on the Forest Service to fly aerial detection surveys, so doing the fixed wing aircraft overflies of these forests to map the mortality for us. And those programs are currently not functioning. And so really the help we get from that landscape scale detection is impacting our ability to assess kind of new mortality events. So there's a lot of factors at play, but I would say overall, you know, it has slowed down a little bit, but it doesn't mean we're out of the woods, right?
Yeah,
as you suggested, we're like pretty much consistently in a drought or some kind of weird disturbance regime that's affecting the health of our trees.
I appreciate that. And I would be remiss not to at least mention that Senator McGuire did provide us $1 million to deal with tree mortality. So we did get something from the state, but it was very specific about our representative advocating for us and not legislation or things of the kind. So thank you for the update.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything else? Anything from the public, if there's anyone? All right, come on up.
Good morning, Chair Crandall, Vice Chair Rasmussen, and board members, and Dr. Jones. Thank you so much for your excellent work. One of the perennial challenges we have living in civilization is balancing development with conservation and forest stewardship. And I don't think the message gets old. I think we have to be reminded. So would you please comment and share best practices as you can on balancing those competing forces We see permits where it's heartbreaking, where the project calls for almost a clear cutting of groves, especially like blue oaks, which are slow growers and are so emblematic of the county. But our ordinances allow it because it's to be avoided. So if you could please share some wisdom with us, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, in extension, our job is to help people, achieve their goals and objectives with the best information and resources possible. So it's not my place to tell somebody how to manage their property. We try to help them do it as following the best management practices, right? So yeah, I think that's a really good point, is that these are really important ecosystems. We have lots of good resources about how you can merge multiple potentially competing goals and objectives and maintain ecological stewardship, as well as recognizing, other values in that space. And that's part of the value of doing site visits and working with this breadth of expertise that we have in this space, is that we can help make informed decisions and make sure that folks are kind of, being good stewards while also recognizing the other values of that property. And so it's always important to think about, long-term stewardship goals, developing management plans, and make sure that if you are developing like agriculture or other reasons, that you're also considering how do you maintain a healthy ecosystem and healthy habitats. And that's a really important factor to consider when you're making these decisions. Thank you.
All right. Any other public comment on Zoom? All right. Well, Dr. Jones, thank you again for this presentation and always giving us some insight on what's going on with that.
Thanks, y'all. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chair, you may wish to take up 7.8.
Okay. We will cover 7.8, consideration of Amendment 3 to the agreement between County of Lake and Lake County Waste Solutions Incorporated for solid waste handling and recycling services. And B, consideration of Amendment 3 to agreement between the County of Lake and South Lake Refuse Company, LLC, for solid waste handling and recycling services. Public Services Director, Lars Ewing.
All right. Well, good morning. Lars Ewing, Public Services Director. Let me just grab my notes that I had somewhere here. Could have sworn. They're in my mind, so I'll go through it as I can.
Wing it.
Yeah. I apologize for that. I don't know what I did with them. Okay. Well, on that note, I apologize. So, for your board's consideration is two proposed amendments to the existing waste hauler contracts with Lake County Waste Solutions and South Lake Refuse and Recycling. They are actually here, representatives from the two companies. They're out I think they're hanging out right outside here. So if we need to grab them, we certainly can. For some background on this item. It's specific to organics. So the waste haulers, Lake County Waste Solutions and South Lake Refuse, they both have, they provide garbage service, but above and beyond that, recycling service and green waste. So the green waste services that they have provided over the decades has been done at no cost. It's a service provided as a part of their franchise agreement. That structure was established, again, decades and decades ago when volumes were very low, volumes of green waste collected, and the tipping fees for green waste were either no cost or very minimal. Over the years and decades, things have changed quite a bit. The volume of green waste material that they pick up has increased, as has tipping fees at the resource recovery facility. They've increased. So, nevertheless, there was never a fee assessed to customers for green waste services. Also, for background purposes, it's important to talk about SB 1383, which is the state's short-lived climate pollutant protection program. The idea there is to reduce the amount of organic material that is disposed at landfills statewide. Above and beyond that, there's a desire to remove edible food, remove food waste, but before it becomes waste, don't throw away food that isn't wasteful in the beginning, and let's get it back into the hands of food recovery programs. So, but the overarching goal really is a climate protection, reducing methane. And so as a part of that, the state has certain mandates statewide that includes, among other things, collection for organic material. Now, Lake County, as a rural entity, we operate under a waiver to that requirement. The idea with the waiver is that in consideration of the cost and the impact for rural counties to implement these programs, to build the infrastructure associated with that, it's unnecessarily cumbersome. And so the Lake County, among other counties and cities around the state, we do operate under a waiver for that component alone. There are other components of 1383 that we are not exempt from, but we are exempt from the requirement for mandatory organics. Nevertheless, your solid waste task force felt that it would be beneficial to pursue that with our voluntary curbside collection programs. What that means is allowing for food waste to be placed in the green waste bin. Currently, the green waste bin is essentially for yard debris, and that's the way the hauler is set up to accept that, and also the resource recovery facility is prepared to take that kind of single stream material, yard waste. But as you can imagine, combining food scraps into the green waste bin certainly adds some complexity, albeit not, we're not talking about rocket science, but we are talking about ensuring that the material is handled appropriately and in a time effectively. Where food scraps can certainly cause some issues if they take too long. So that's for some background purposes. So in order to move ahead with the Solid Waste Task Force recommendation, we prepared these two amendments with Lake County Waste Solutions and South Lake Refuse to add an organics processing fee. It's somewhat similar to a couple of pass-through fees that already exist. One is at the landfill itself. Any fees associated with the landfill tipping fee are passed through essentially to customers. Gas adjustments in gas prices are passed through. So this would be a new fee assigned to both hauler contracts. The cost of this thing is relatively minimal. On average for a residential customer with a 32 or 30 gallon cart, we're talking about anywhere between $1.20 and $1.50, give or take, per month. The overall, though, the impact, the benefits to this thing, even though we do operate under a waiver, there are some benefits that I think are worth talking about, which is why the Solid Waste Task Force and the Public Services Department are recommending it. One is standardization. The reason that we have a franchise hauler contract, or in this case, two contracts, is standardization for the area so that we can ensure that the contractors are managing the waste stream environmentally friendly in accordance with state compliance, state requirements to ensure compliance there, and to ensure that it's not the wild, wild west with garbage pickup on any given road. So in line with that, standardization among local jurisdictions and surrounding jurisdictions for what is collected curbside is also important. The city of Clear Lake currently accepts food waste scraps in their green waste bin. The city of Lakeport, as I understand it, does not, but the majority of Mendocino County does. I believe the majority of Napa County and the majority of most surrounding areas do. And so it is a bit of a where does the future lie? It's likely with reducing, certainly is with reducing the amount of material inbound at the landfill. There are benefits there as well. Not only does it save airspace at the landfill, but by removing or at least reducing organics at the landfill, it does, yes, reduce methane production, which has environmental benefits, but it also has benefits financially for the landfill. We have mandates through other state regulations to in an environmentally friendly way, manage the methane production there. So as your board may be aware, we have a relatively significant landfill gas collection and control system there. And so we monitor and manage the landfill production or the methane production at the landfill. So by reducing as much as possible the organics inbound at the landfill, it does have landfill-based impacts as well as environmental benefits. So with that said, the recommendation is to move ahead with both amendments. And for some background, really quick, because I think it can be a little confusing. We may believe that there's one company that handles the hauling for Lake County. We still have two separate contracts, Lake County Waste Solutions and South Lake Refuse. Both are there's a parent company of Waste Connections, but that owns both companies. But both Lake County Waste Solutions and South Lake Refuse they operate independently. However, Lake County Waste Solutions recently assumed control of the operations for South Lake Refuse. But from a franchise agreement perspective, they are both still standing agreements and separate agreements. So I'll stop there and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
And look for my notes as well. I don't know what.
Go ahead, Supervisor Spati.
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions. You mentioned tipping. Can you describe specifically what you mean by that? And I am aiming for a reason to ask in the question.
Yeah, so a tipping fee, there they are. Tipping fee is it's a common term associated with when you go to landfill and you weigh in. You have 1.5 tons. You're going to pay for 1.5 tons of driving up to the landfill tipping, and that is the fee for tipping your trailer and dumping. That's the common term. So I apologize for that.
No worries. And there was one reason I was asking, because how does that work now that Waste Solutions owns Quackenbush?
Well, again, separate companies. I mean, the umbrella company is there, but there is still a tipping fee. They operate, separate accounting, and how do they manage their books? Well, there's a cost to receiving, to a tip fee for any green waste that's inbound. It's one of the benefits, to be honest, of having a franchise agreement where we the county have a level, certainly a level of control over franchise agreement, curbside collection costs, because now with one company that certainly has a lot of involvement there, we want to ensure that it's not just raising fees simply because they can or they want to.
And the reason I bring it up is they sell material and from the composting that can create stuff they're selling, even though I think right now they're actually giving away a lot of their composted stuff, probably because of the amount that they're receiving. But I'm not seeing or understanding a formula of balancing in the point that they have a tipping fee for another agency or another company that's still under the same umbrella, who now gets to sell materials that's produced by what's being brought to them. I can appreciate where we're going with this. To be honest, I'm on the fence right now, and I'm going to wait and see and hear from my other colleagues. Things are getting more and more difficult. This month coming up specifically is going to already add more difficulties as we're taking away money from people buying food, not we, but as overall there's an issue that is about to come on November 1st, unless something changes that I'm not aware of. We're also increasing the cost of your garbage being picked up because of food waste. And so I'm struggling to add more cost, even though it's a small minor cost, but everybody is adding more cost, and people are already going to be struggling just to get access to food, or at least 25 to 30% of our community is. So I just wanted to put it out there. I'm struggling on this one. I understand where we're heading with it. I think that there's long-term benefits. Short-term, I almost want to postpone this until next year and just see how things can recuperate, because right now these fees would be as of, it says October 1st it would be, or were the fees showing what they are currently as of October 1st, and then they would add on and they would start as of November 1st?
Yeah, what's presented there, and if it includes that, the rates shown would be proposed with the 4.8% increase.
But when do they start? Because I see October 1st, and I'm not sure if that means that's the current rate as of October.
That would be the proposed rate. At the time they submitted this, it was planned to be applied October 1st. So that is with the increase.
Okay. And with now it showing up today on October 28th, that would be as of November 1st?
It would be later, yes.
Okay.
At whatever point in time, and it may not even be November 1st. It would be when
because the bills are not every single month. I think it's every 2 months, if I'm correct.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So I just wanted to at least express that it's not a huge amount, but I want to be sensitive to the struggles of those that we want to continue to utilize the service, because right now it's voluntary in the majority of our county. Actually, in the county unincorporated, it's all voluntary. And I just want to make sure people continue to access our curbside pickup. I think it's what is needed for many of our communities. So just wanted to express it.
All right. I'll open it up for public comment. If there's anyone that would like to come up and speak, please come to the microphone and go from there.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board and Director Ewing. I just have a question. I maybe this was covered and I just didn't quite hear it. The question is, I understand we're going to combine food waste with green waste to relieve pressure on the landfill and reduce tipping fees, et cetera. If the green waste, and I may have misheard this, but if the green waste and food waste is not going to the landfill, then where is it going? And what's the plan for that? Thank you.
Sure, I can answer that. Currently, green waste goes primarily to the Quackenbush Mountain Resource Recovery Facility, which is a privately owned and operated facility adjacent to the East Lake landfill. That's where the majority of the material goes. However, some material on the I would say on the west side of Lake County, if you're going to say the transfer station in Lakeport, again a privately owned and operated facility, they would sort that on the floor. If you've been there, there's an area where you place green waste. That may, dependent upon their operations, some of that may go to Quackenbush Mountain. Some may go to a facility in Ukiah that Waste Connections owns, where there's a green waste facility. So those are the two general, I'll say, end of the road locations is Quackenbush Mountain Resource Recovery Facility in Clear Lake, or call it the MRF, the Material Recovery Facility in Ukiah.
Supervisor Owen, I see your pen up. Did you want to add to that?
How will the food waste affect the green waste as far as, will it compost in? And is there any bacterias or anything that could then be an issue when people are picking it up?
Well, I'm not going to be able to definitively answer that. Having been to some of these facilities, it is a bit of a science and an art where they are blending, they're creating certain blends, and they windrow it. But I hopefully there they are. Perhaps they can answer that. So I would.
Burning.
That's great. So Bruce McCracken, I believe, Bruce, if you don't mind coming up, and he joined late. So Bruce, did you hear the question?
I did.
Okay, great.
Good morning, Bruce McCracken, Lake County Waste Solutions. I haven't been here in a very long time, which is a good thing. This is all new. This is awesome. Anyway,
it's that long?
It's been that long, which is good. So food waste will be collected in the green can. It composts well. We have no issues with it. Our biggest issue is, people think, well, I'll put it in a bag. And we're really anti-bag because while it's sold as compostable, if you're a vineyard owner or even a small gardener, the last thing you want to see is plastic little pieces in your compost and glass. Mm-hmm. So it's a process, and we sort it as the truck's dumped too, and we tag customers. So we compost all the Costco stuff in Ukiah, and it's a lot. So it just goes right in with the green waste.
Okay. No issues with any contaminants or?
No.
Okay.
All right.
Let's keep it real food.
Did you want to add to that? No. Any other questions for Bruce? Is there anything else? Well, go ahead.
I do have a question, and I understand that this is more than just the organics. This is also, and for good things, more people are using the green bin than ever. And so that's being recognized that this is not just an increase to get the organic material based on SB 1383. This is more than that. So if we say no today, you're just going to come back and say, well, I'm having to still pay more for the service, and I'm not being provided the. Because of my concern, and again, I'd love to hear from my colleagues about that. What would it do to you if we postponed till January and said we approve this to start as of January 1st, 2026?
Here's how I see this working. If it is approved today, the adjustment wouldn't happen until January. We would start the process now. I would like everybody to put their turkey carcass from Thanksgiving into the green can this year. So we would start that process today, basically, with Michelle getting the education out. So it wouldn't be an automatic adjustment right away. It would be delayed until January.
And it's not in writing on the agreement that we have.
For that date, for the
specific
delay?
date.
No, we could certainly, I would imagine amend that in as far as the date that the rate would be applied. That's something that we'd be doing on the fly here. So I don't want to go too far, but I think based on what Bruce has said, I don't see any reason why we couldn't apply that. But I don't want to put Lloyd on the spot here without having the contract right there in front of him.
And if my colleagues aren't interested in that, then that's a moot point as well to respond to that.
Yeah, certainly in the amendment, I have no problem at all.
Yeah, thank you. I was actually going to suggest January myself. You brought it up. It has to be amended anyway because this says October 1st. I think there's got to be some
Or at least in the example of the
Some-
rates, yeah.
adjustment of it because it's not going to happen October 1st.
Right.
Because that's when this was submitted a while back.
Right.
But I'd be in favor of approving it today as requested with it starting in January as far as the fee.
There's no problem at all with that. You could put in there, January 1st, the adjustment would occur. And if you wanted to, you could say, we will start the education progress or portion of the program, if you will, on November 1st. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to frame it.
I'm on
I
board.
think, yeah, and I think with the education portion, we can, like, I know that each one of us have, our municipal advisory committees, they can be, put out there. Yeah, so anything else? Supervisor Sabatier?
Did you say turkey carcass?
Yes.
I have to ask.
Well, I did. I always have to have something, Bruno. So turkey carcass, I would suggest you make soup out of it first and then put it into the green can. That's my Thanksgiving suggestion.
Okay. That's more than just my squash. Okay.
Brussels sprouts.
I had a question. I'm not going to ask it because we'll get into the rabbit hole. I'll go ahead and open it up I did open it up for public comment. And is there any other folks online? All right. I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Looked like he wanted to say something.
I just was wondering if Mr. Guentovano might have the appropriate language and location on the resolutions, since it's both of them, to place that new rates shall start as of January 1st, 2026, something along those lines.
And Lloyd, if you'd like, I mean, the two amendments are essentially mirror images of one another. There is section 6.3. The change proposed to the contract is to section 6.3 that says changes in pass-through costs. And I would suggest that we add in somewhere in there that the rates would be effective January 1, 2026. And as I'm reading here, I can look for an appropriate location.
And that would be fine for each of the contracts. It would be approved as amended. I believe your board also is considering a potential educational component language of that.
No, I think that's already happening.
That's happening on its own.
Yeah, for
Constantly.
your board's, exactly, yeah, for your board's awareness and the public's as a part of their the franchise agreements with both companies, they are required to do education and outreach. A lot of that is done through their newsletters, but the folks right behind me are frequently attending meetings. I think they were just at the judge's breakfast, for example. So it is, yeah, it's ongoing. So Lloyd, if maybe a recommendation here is at the end of the proposed section 6.3, adding in a sentence to say that rates shall be effective January 1, new rates shall be effective January 1, 2026.
Yes, and that would be for each of these contracts, there's an A and a B
Right.
contract for that, so it would be for your board to consider approving it by motion as amended.
All right.
Yeah, with nothing further, I'll start with A, move to approve Amendment 3 to agreement between the County of Lake and Lake County Waste Solutions Incorporated for solid waste handling and recycling services as amended.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 4-0.
And continuing B, move to approve Agreement 3 to agreement between County of Lake and South Lake Refuse Company, LLC for solid waste handling and recycling services as amended.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Lars.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah.
Luis is just outside. Can we grab Luis?
I'll go ahead and
Go
read
to
that
the-
one off. I know
yeah.
which one we're doing. So we'll go to our 6.6, and I'll read it. Yep, I'll read it. Presentation from Lake County Fish and Wildlife Advisory Committee. Vice Chair Rasmussen, you brought this forward, and I'll let you go ahead and.
Yes, I want to bring this forward since I attended the last Fish and Wildlife Advisory Committee meeting, and there was a lot of discussion about the September fish die-off incident that we had on Clear Lake. So the committee requested to give our board a brief synopsis and report on that. So with that, I would ask Mr. Santana to take it over.
All right, Mr. Santana, if you can come sit up here if you'd like. I'm really appreciative that you brought this forward. I've seen a lot of concern and comments about it online and whatnot, and a lot of it is going to be cleared up here. So thank you for coming and doing this, Luis.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
That's not turned on, Luis. Hit the button, I think. Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, everyone. My name is Luis Santana. I'm the chair for the Lake County Advisory Committee to the Board of Supervisors. I'm also the Fish and Wildlife Director for Denoha Fish and Wildlife for Robinson Rancheria. The fish kill happened in the first couple weeks of September, and so I got pictures from local residents. But one local resident that lived off of Soda Bay contacted me, telling me that they were out on the lake the night before and everything seemed fine, but then the next morning when they took a walk down the shoreline, there's a bunch of dead fish all over the place. So I went to this area and I took my YSI Pro DSS water quality meter and I got some water quality parameters that I measured, specifically dissolved oxygen, because I thought it was a dissolved oxygen related event. So I just took a shoreline sample and the dissolved oxygen was bad, but it wasn't too bad. It's definitely something that fish could live in. So the cypriniid fishes, specifically Clear Lake Hitch, Sacramento Sucker, all these related fishes, they should have right around 5 milligrams per liter of dissolved oxygen in the water, but they could survive in lower dissolved oxygen levels. Once they get to right around 2.0 milligrams per liter, they start to not survive anymore. And so at the shoreline, we got a measurement of 3.95 milligrams per liter. Again, they like 5.0 milligrams per liter. So they could still survive in this, but it's not very good for their fitness overall. And so this was on September 7th. And so I told her, I was like, this is not really an accurate measurements of the dissolved oxygen because it's only shoreline. So on the shore, even though there's not much wave action, when the wind isn't really picking anything up, the wave action actually provides a little bit of dissolved oxygen. So it wasn't really a good measurement overall. So I told her that the next day, which I believe was Monday the 8th, I would go out and get vertical profiles of the lake in the area. And so that's what I did. And so this was in Dorn Bay, which is also in Soda Bay, which is close to the Clear Lake State Park. And so we launched at Keeling in Nice. And as we were passing Lucerne, I saw what I thought were waves, but it ended up being, I don't know how many, but I'm estimating millions of threadfin shad. It just, like, at that point I was like, are those waves? And then I stopped and I was like, oh, those are all fish. So threadfin shad are an introduced species. They're a bait fish. And our bass here love them. And so I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And so at that point I stopped and I took some measurements. I did a vertical profile. And so at the surface, well, actually, no, not exactly the surface, but at 3 feet beneath the surface, the dissolved oxygen level for milligrams per liter was 0.52. So right around 2 is when you start seeing them slowly die off, right? So we were at 0.2 at the surface. At 17 feet, we were at 0.28. So it was going down even more. So these levels could be lethal to any of the species. And then at the bottom, which is 30 feet, we're at 0.22. And this was out in the middle of the lake. I have GPS coordinates and stuff, and I'm almost done with the report. I'm almost there. And I'll send that to you guys when I'm done with it. And so I continued. I went to Dorn Bay, got measurements there. At the surface, we were at 1.2 milligrams per liter. Some fish will survive in that, but more than likely they're not. At 7 feet, we got 1.0 milligrams per liter of dissolved oxygen. And then at 13 feet, we got 0.2 milligrams per liter. So basically in the entire water column, it was not suitable for fishes in the area. And so there I saw Sacramento blackfish. These were all the fish that were died. Sacramento blackfish, threadfin shad, largemouth bass, black crappie, and bluegill. And so we went back towards Keeling. And again, I found very similar measurements. At 2 feet below the surface, 0.9 milligrams per liter. At 14 feet below the surface, 0.3 milligrams per liter. At 29 feet, 0.2 milligrams per liter. So overall, the entire water column was not suitable for fishes in those areas. And so at that point, I saw bullhead catfish, which are a little bit better off in low dissolved oxygen. Channel catfish. I also found a lot of hitch. And so the entire ecosystem as far as fishes was affected by the dissolved oxygen levels that were very low and lethal to most species. Was I supposed to also address the white sturgeon?
If you wish.
Yeah, please.
So
I think it'd be
you guys saw the white sturgeon that was going crazy on social media. Yes, it was there. It was 100% real. I took the head and the pectoral fins for further analysis, and we should know more about it hopefully in the next couple weeks.
Bless you.
And we're trying to find out essentially the habitat that it was in within its entire life cycle. So I'm thinking that someone caught it in the bay and then transported it over here at some point. In the past, they might have had access. It's just the elevation changes from here to the ocean are kind of too drastic for sturgeon to get past. So my hypothesis is someone caught it in the bay somewhere and then brought it over and let it live out the rest of its life. It was a female, it was a large female, 7 feet, 7 inches. And so hopefully we know more about that in the next couple weeks. And I'm assuming that the low dissolved oxygen event also caused it to die. But yeah, everything we saw is just like, yeah, this is a low dissolved oxygen event, and it affected the entire lake.
You think there's more sturgeon?
I hope. It's the one fish species that I wanted to catch in our nets or our electrofishing boat, and just any kind of sampling method. I was like, I really want to catch a sturgeon. Unfortunately, it was already dead when I saw it. There could be people do crazy and illegal things all the time. So I don't recommend moving any fish from one water body to another. But that's what I'm thinking happened, and we'll know for sure in the next couple weeks.
Are you going to come back and report to us?
I can, yeah, I absolutely can.
That's pretty exciting news. I would like to know.
And this report will be better hopefully in the next week or so. I still got to do some tables and some mapping, but for the most part, my writing's done.
Go ahead, Supervisor.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you being here presenting on this. Definitely, if you live around the lake, you can't not know about the fish kill that occurred this year and previous years. Typically, it is dissolved oxygen. Thank you for providing that information. It's been a bit of a stranger year for the lake, where the lake has not appeared to have as much algae. Now, algae can be in many different stages. It doesn't have to be on the top floating. But typically what we find is the dissolved oxygen does occur when we have the mats and other things where it gets really bad during the summertime. Do you have a culprit for the dissolved oxygen for this year, since the lake just looked vastly different than what I was expecting?
Yeah, we're definitely expecting if an event like this were to happen, it would be because of decomposition of all the algae, right? So they produce high dissolved oxygen, and then when they are decomposing, they suck it all from the water. And that's how those fish kills occur. In this instance, that definitely wasn't it. I think it was lake turnover, but I can't really prove that because I wasn't taking samples year round to be able to say, hey, this is what's occurring. There's a UC Davis measurement that kind of was able to predict it, the low dissolved oxygen event. I don't know who's in charge of that, but I saw it and I was like, oh, maybe that's it. If we were, I can't say for sure. I think it was a turnover event, lake turnover event. It wasn't cyanobacteria die-off. I can tell you that.
Thank you for saying that.
It was
that's been out there.
It was a really weird event because the lake was looking really good, and like the bass were massive. So I was like, oh, this is a great year, and so next year should be good. But
I went to the lake and I'm like, that's not algae I smell.
No,
That's fish
it wasn't.
I smell.
It wasn't.
It was just it was a very surprising situation because usually it comes hand in hand.
Yeah, it was not algae, and Big Valley does a great job of monitoring that stuff, and all their data suggested that it wasn't that either. So it definitely wasn't cyanobacteria.
So my follow-up question for you is, I know you're involved in the Blue Ribbon Committee and some of the projects that they're working on. A lot of these projects kind of tell us what is going to happen, but we'll only find out when the projects are actually in practice, because I don't think any of them have ever engaged in this type of lake and this type of environment. We're very unique in who we are, what we are. But a lot of them state that it will help create higher oxygen levels. Do you think that some of those projects could help in the future with some of these dissolved oxygen events?
Yeah, so like you said, not many of them have participated in a lake this big. To an extent, yes, they will, but that'll be regionally. So City of Clear Lake we want to do restoration and conservation on the land where we can, so nature could do the job. I think for the City of Clear Lake, those projects are probably definitely necessary, because unless you're going to move thousands of people from the lakeshore and from the stream beds, you won't be able to do that naturally. So it depends, yes and no. But I think for certain areas, like, yeah, you absolutely need that, 100%.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead, Vice
I
Chair.
was just going to mention, I'm not sure if Big Valley made it on Zoom, but I just wanted to check, and
Sarah's
maybe she got tied up.
she's out somewhere, and I was just like, well, I don't know what time this is going to be, so she's probably busy. But they have a lot of really good data, and I would definitely recommend talking to them about their cyanobacteria monitoring.
Thank you.
All right. I will open it up for public comment.
Chris Childers, Water Resources Department Program Coordinator. Just to like follow up on what Luis has said here is we did vertical profiles on the lake on September 10th, which I believe was 3 days after Luis gathered his data with our monthly water quality. And we found the same thing that he's seeing here. So very, very low dissolved oxygen from the surface all the way down to the bottom in all 3 arms of the lake. And so, thanks for collecting all that great data and you know, doing the research on the sturgeon and getting that sent off to the lab and all that. It's really great that we can all collaborate and work together and make things happen. So,
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? If not, I'll close on Zoom. Please unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. My screen says Lake County Land Trust. This is Angela DePalma Dow, Executive Director of Lake County Land Trust, and used to work in water resources. Thanks to Luis and to Chris and Taylor for all of their water quality monitoring efforts. And I just wanted to provide a small explanation for what we see in lakes that are large and shallow and have a lot of productivity. And I've worked with lakes in like 6 different states across the country. And there is always some types of lakes that have late season, end of summer season, early fall season fish die-offs that are sometimes, you know, some years they happen, some years they don't. And they can be contributed to vegetation die-off at the end of the season. So the days are getting shorter, the temperatures are getting colder, and you referenced cyanobacteria die-off, which this year there wasn't that much cyanobacteria, but there's lots of other things growing in the lake that grew a lot this year, particularly with all the water that we had. So it's a lot more space, a lot more surface area, both across and down in depth where stuff can grow. And then it all likes to die towards the end of the season, much like your vegetable garden or your garden. So if you have a lot of things growing in your garden at the end of the year, right now in fall, stuff will start to die and that can consume oxygen. So that is one factor. I was looking at some patterns of some seasonal patterns. You know, in 2012 to 2016, we had a very significant drought. And then 2017 was a flood year. If you recall, that was the year where all that damage occurred on Lakeport by Library Park. There's a huge flood. And then we also saw a pretty significant fish die off that year after we had a drought followed by very large quantities of water in the lake, high water level. Same thing recently between 2020, 2022, we had a significant drought. The water receded very significantly. And that created a lot of space where when the water came back up over the last couple of years of 2023, 2024, there was a lot of growth that happened. So there's some patterns where you see drought and then flood years where you have a lot of growth of vegetation, a lot of space, a lot of disturbed soils that can contribute to algae and plant growth that all then died and could create these fish kill events. So that's just my personal, as a previous, lake manager, that's my opinion. I just wanted to put that out there as a consideration too. These are natural processes and that's something that could have happened.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone else on Zoom? No more. All right, I'll close public comment. And I just wanted to ask quickly about the proposed hypolimnetic oxygenation project that'll take place. Is this potentially going to be a place that the fish can find refuge when it comes to oxygen, or is it something that's just doesn't matter?
Yeah, regionally, yeah, they would. But if they're on the other side of the lake, then
they're not going to come over, like migrate over.
I mean, they could, but in this kind of event, it's going to be very difficult for them to get there.
All right.
So that's where you want to go fishing, attracting all the fish.
I wasn't saying that, but anyhow, thank you for that, and thank you for the this update. I think it's very important that we do these, especially when you have an event that took place. Everybody sees the fish, on top of the lake and whatnot, and there's just assumptions. But it's always good to have the professionals. Every time that you or someone else would talk, I see the experts in the room shaking, nodding their heads like, this is what happened. So like for me, I can guess all day, but I don't know fish that well. So thank you. Anything else? Did you have something else?
Yeah, I needed to correct Mr. Santana. He's being way too kind. It is a horrible idea to bring fish not from this lake into this lake. Not just a suggestion that it's not good. It is a horrible idea. That's many of the reasons why we have some of the fish we have in there, because people are dumping their aquariums. People are dumping whatever. Keep that out of the lake, please.
All right.
Thank you for the presentation today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. With that, we'll close this item on the agenda, and we will. CAO, what would you say would be a good next one?
7.9, we have Director Dillman Parsons on Zoom.
All right. 7.9. Consideration to waive the formal bidding process pursuant to County Ordinance 3137, Section 28.2 due to 38.22, not in the public interest, and B, approve contract between County of Lake and North Coast Opportunities Incorporated for Stage 1 childcare services in the amount of $1,750,000 from May 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026, and authorize the chair to sign. Director Dillman Parsons.
Thank you, Chair Crandall. Yes, we're recommending waiver of the formal bidding process. NCO is the state contracted provider for stage 2 and 3, and it really doesn't make any sense to go with anybody else but them for stage 1. This is a new contract to cover the end of fiscal year 24-25 for the months of May and June for a balance still outstanding to NCO. And we have verified with the auditor that we're good to pay that. And then our amount for the fiscal year 25-26 has been adjusted to more accurately reflect our anticipated expenditures based on 24-25. And these funds are not capped. They are 100% state reimbursable based on our actual expenditures. So we're asking you to waive the formal bidding and approve this contract for your signature. Thank you.
Are there any other agencies that do this work, or is this the only one locally?
It's the only one locally I am aware of that would be able to meet the demand. My manager is not in the Zoom. She's on Teams, and she says we're not aware of any. Yeah, because they are state contracted for stage 2 and 3, they already maintain the provider lists and have the payment and funding mechanisms set up with the state, which wouldn't be in place for any other providers.
Oh, so they're already doing this anyhow?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Any other comments from the board?
No, I don't.
Supervisor Spatier?
I know this came before us maybe a couple weeks back, and just appreciate the clarification on the contract and especially the compensation. Thank you.
All right.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Thank you.
I'll open this up for public comment. I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move to waive the formal bidding process pursuant to County Ordinance 3137, Section 28.2, due to, it just says due to, but I think it's a state procured, they've already been chosen by the state to be the ones to provide the service, for the lack of better specific terms, but that's what 28.2 means. And it is not in the public interest. Approve contract between County of Lake and North Coast Opportunities, Inc. for Stage 1 Child Care Services in the amount of $1,750,000 from May 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026, and authorize the chair to sign.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 4-0. Thank you very much, Director Dillman Parsons.
7.2.
7.2. Consideration of update to the 2025 Board of Supervisors meeting calendar. CAO Parker.
Thank you, Chair. This is our annual presentation of the calendar for next year, and we're just open. This is what we're proposing, and we're just open to hear any suggestions or changes that the board chooses to propose.
Okay, I have a question. Oops, go ahead.
Hi, Carolyn Purdy, Administrative Analyst. This item is actually an update to this year's calendar to adjourn the December 2nd meeting. So that's up for consideration.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and that's,
That was last time.
Yes.
It got postponed and now it came back. I'm glad somebody
Confusing.
said something.
Yes.
okay,
wasn't
that's
reading.
what I thought too, but I thought maybe.
Well, I saw the 2025, that's why I was,
Yeah.
said I had a question.
So a
I
majority
apologize,
of,
board.
Oh, okay.
yeah, that's coming back next
I know there was one, so I was like,
It's,
well, maybe.
it's still coming forward next week. So a majority of your board will be gone on the December 2nd meeting for a CSAC event. So this is for your consideration to adjourn that meeting.
And just for the public to understand, CSAC, County State Association of Counties, it's an annual event, and most supervisors go to this. A lot of not just the primary and the alternate. Sometimes they send 4 people, but of course they have to be in accordance with the Brown Act as well. So I just wanted to highlight that this is an annual event that commonly attracts all supervisors, as many as can go or the county allows. Brad, did you have something to add or no? I thought I seen
No.
your pen up, so I'm sorry.
No, well, you covered it.
Oh, okay. Any public comment on this? All right, I will bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve update of 2025 Board of Supervisors meeting calendar to adjourn the Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025 meeting due to a lack of a quorum.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 4-0. Thank you very much, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Try this one more time. If you want to try your calendars, I have requested that Pawan come down for his 5.4.
Okay, who wants to start?
I'll start.
All right, Vice Chair, go ahead.
Last week, had a collaborative meeting with the City of Lakeport, Special Districts, Public Works, CAO's office on discussions about South Main Street water line. Attended a first 5 commission meeting. I watched the last week's Planning Commission meeting. Did some follow-up on community Christmas dinner that several nonprofits are going to be doing in the District 4 area at Christmas time. Had a meeting with the chair and county admin staff on flock safety camera, possible additional locations. Attended the part of the events at that ranch over the weekend. They had a lot of activity out there. As CAO talked about the animal control event, costume, or the dog adoption. Participated in the new food donation efforts that are getting up in the community to help stock additional food banks. They're not the actual food bank of record for the county, but several churches and other organizations that are also assisting people with supplemental food. There's an effort around the lake right now. And tomorrow I'll be at a meeting with the Gleaners regarding their operations with the seriousness of what's coming with the lack of food assistance not being paid out at all for November 1st. we'll have a ad hoc meeting that the board directed, I believe, last week regarding Public Works, Public Services. That's coming up this week. I'm going to be attending several Halloween events in District 4. I'm also going to attend the California Deer Lake Pillsbury Alliance combination fundraiser dinner this Saturday up at Canocti Harbor. And then for the benefit of any members of the public that are within the city of Lakeport that are customers of City of Lakeport trash service, there will be a free dump day coming up on November 1st down at 5th Street for several hours. And if you're a city Lakeport disposal customer, you can take 2 truckloads of free dump. So, and that wraps up my report.
Supervisor Owen?
I'm not super organized on giving an update, but we had, last week I attended the Mendo Matters meeting in Ukiah, and that was primarily about what they're looking at doing for the Pillsbury. I had met with Paul Kelly on he's the Community Service Director in Hidden Valley, and we had met on the levy before, so we kind of got an update on the levy, and that's something I'm working with pt1 on for getting that situation under control. It is deteriorating. I had a geothermal meeting on last Wednesday also, and a meeting with Alan. Worked on some other issues had a few other meetings in there. Tomorrow I have a Middletown area plan meeting and a meeting on Friday with Peter and Luca from Thompson's office. And so that's what I have down.
Supervisor Sabatier?
So I'll start with not really the elephant in the room, but it's concerning as to what may happen starting November 1st. I don't think it'll be a tsunami right away, but I think there's going to be impacts. We're not seeing anything change at this moment at the federal level. The anticipation as of last Thursday is that nothing is going to be funded for the entire month of November. I've talked to CAO Parker. I'll work with her and see about adding an item next week for us to discuss what is our role in this situation. It may be limited, or it may be possible to have some creative ideas. I know that Napa, for example, just declared a state of emergency in order to utilize certain dollars to help during this situation. Obviously, there's the concern for the individuals and having access to food, but I'm also concerned simultaneously about our grocery stores who already run on a very thin line of profit margins. Food giveaways doesn't help our grocery stores. It may add more people who need to go to the food giveaway if they end up having to shed off some employees. So overall, great concern. I hope that we can have a good conversation about what is happening, who is being impacted, and what our potential options are as a county that we can do. So just something I'm thinking about. I met with Paragon last week to discuss what can NACO Health Committee do, since health issues seem to be the breaking point for the federal government right now, to be able to decide to actually talk and move forward and make progress. And tomorrow I'm having a meeting with Blair Bryant, who is the lead staffer for the health steering committee for NACO. She's the most knowledgeable person that I can think of when it comes to this stuff. And so her and I will have a conversation about what we can do as a steering committee for NACO to really voice our needs. Not just because typically they'll say, talk to your representative. I say this with kindness. It's a complete waste of time for me to talk to Congressman Thompson. He's already pushing for what I would be asking him to push for. And so to me, I want to have something that we can directly send to the leadership of the Senate and the House of Representatives, not just our representative for this region, because I think he's doing what he can to try to have these conversations lead to productivity and moving things forward rather than the stagnation that we're in. So again, I mean that with great kindness. I don't mean that in a negative way, but I think we need to talk to other people than just our own congressman. So we'll see what happens there. I have been spending a lot of time, not a lot of time, but so far 2 days. I have 2 more days this week that I'll be spending the majority of those days at the Registrar of Voters office as I help with the ballot count and sorting and all that other stuff. If you have time, think about volunteering. You will learn a lot about the process. You will learn a lot about the integrity. I think that a lot of people make assumptions based on what they are being told rather than their actual experience of going through the process. And you'd be surprised at how, in my opinion, secure the process is when it comes to our elections. And glad that I get the chance to be able to help out there. Tomorrow, I'm going to try to join in another NACO subcommittee for long-term care. Just listen in on that. On Thursday, it will be starting the day with Judge's Breakfast. I've invited Denise Rushing to be my mighty opponent in our Proposition 50 debate that we'll be having at Judge's Breakfast, so that should be fun. And continuing on with the COC, got to start organizing for next year's pit count, going back to the registrar office. And then we received about $1.5 million for the continuum of care to help out with getting people off the streets. And it was brought to our attention by Adventist Health due to a conference that they had been to that there's these vehicles called Dignity buses that are full-sized buses that have been retrofit to offer 20 beds. They're mobile. And we set aside $400,000, and supposedly that may allow us to acquire 2 of these buses, but we need to dive a little deeper. So very interested in doing that because not everybody, as we move forward with our safe parking that we've been putting money into and organizing that with the winning contractor for that is Catholic Charities. But at the same time, not everybody has a vehicle to go to safe parking. So we'd like to offer a vehicle that people can utilize in that safe parking area, such as a Dignity bus. So we'll be having a discussion regarding that. On Friday, I'm going back to California State Association, where we're continuing our child care working group to, again, figure out how we can ensure that we are expanding our child care services as they are retracting or have been retracted based on COVID and other things that have made it really difficult, and trying to figure out what's our advocacy call to the state and how can we support innovative ideas to make sure that we have child care. Because not having childcare is a detriment to your economy. In fact, there's a survey that I'm trying to bring here to Lake County that happened in Sonoma County and Orange County, or where they were able to put into dollars the amount of lost economic growth or strength based on the fact that people weren't able to work because there's lack of childcare, or people were working less because of their issues with childcare. And it'd be interesting to see what our economic loss here is because of that. I am also following up with Paragon later on that Friday, so I can be prepared for my Health Steering Committee meeting next week. And I am going to Tribal Health in Clear Lake. It is my 2nd year. They must have loved my judging perspective. They want me to judge the costume contest for Halloween at Tribal Health. And they're deep in construction right now in the building next door to the new one. And it's exciting to see the growth that Tribal Health is not just in Clear Lake, but just everywhere in our community. Also meeting with, I am trying to connect NCO Build with a young gentleman that I've met in Clear Lake who is flipping houses and would like to connect him so that they can work together, since Build is all about workforce development for that type of workforce. And then Saturday, I will also be at Canocti Harbor for the Lake Pillsbury dinner, and I believe it says here 4:30. Is that too early?
correct.
That's correct. Okay. And then don't have all that much going on Monday, meeting with our CAO, lived experience for the continuum of care, and back here for our meeting. That was a little long. I apologize.
Oh, it's okay. It helps out.
Made up for me.
Helps out.
Thursday, I have a Public Works Ad Hoc Committee meeting, and then I'll be doing some work with, we're working and meeting with the Senior Center in Upper Lake, constituent meetings in Nice and Lucerne on Friday. I'll be also joining the California Deer Alliance fundraiser meeting, as the other supervisors have mentioned. And then back here Monday with the meeting with CAO Parker. Then back here Tuesday for the Board of Supervisors meeting. With that, we will go ahead and move on and close calendars and go to 5.4. Sitting as the Lake County Watershed Protection District Board of Directors approved 2 joint funding agreements with the U.S. Geological Survey, U.S. Department of Interior for stream monitoring in Kelsey and Clover Creek for a total amount not to exceed $75,490, and authorized the Water Resources Director to sign. Water Resources Director Juan Upadhyay.
Yeah, so we have this in the consent agenda, but there is like a small change to it. So earlier it says both the agreements with the USGS was funded by the district funds. So actually one of them, which is for 20,710, which is Kelsey Creek, was for will be funded by the district fund, but the other one, which is for $54,780,000, would be provided by a DWR's CalSIP grant. So that was a correction from district fund to funded by a grant.
All right, any questions from the board? Go ahead, Supervisor.
So nothing changes on what we're approving. It was just to clarify on the memo?
Yes, yeah.
All right. I will open it up for public comment. Is there any on Zoom? Any in chambers? All right, I'll bring it back to the board for action.
If there's nothing further, I'll make a motion to approve the contracts. I don't have the actual language in front of me.
I'll read it.
Sitting as the Lake County Watershed Protection District Board of Directors, move to approve 2 joint funding agreements with the U.S. Geological Survey, U.S. Department of Interior for stream monitoring in Kelsey and Clover Creek for a total amount not to exceed $75,490, and authorize the Water Resources Director to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 4-0-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Upadhyay. All right. What do we got? Lunch? Would be better now? All right, so we'll go ahead and take a lunch break and come back at 12:50.
Hide my fruit right here.
All right, welcome back from our lunch break. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next untimed item. 7.3, consideration of agreement between County of Lake and Sacramento Behavioral Health Hospital, LLC, for acute inpatient psychiatric hospital services and professional services associated with acute inpatient psychiatric hospitalizations for fiscal year 25 and 26. And it looks like we have Christine Andrus on Zoom to present.
Good afternoon. So yes, this item is for one of our behavioral health facilities. Let me pull it up. And it's an acute psychiatric facility that we've been using for a long time. We served 18 unduplicated clients at this facility last year.
All right.
Any questions?
I do have a
Go ahead.
question. You said they were there last year. I thought for some reason this was a new one. Do you guys have yet, because it's been approximately 3 months, a final report from last year that I can request to get some data and some outcomes and whatever other data they were able to provide?
I can see. I know from my data that this is an acute psychiatric facility and that we placed 18 clients there.
Okay. Because just a correction, it's a general comment. From my understanding of behavioral health, they are typically diagnoses that through treatment can be brought back into a more stable environment, unlike other types of diagnosis that are permanent types of diagnosis like dementia or things like that. So understanding how, and I know that it's different for everybody, but still understanding how facilities are doing as far as providing treatment that leads to people being more functional and more stabilized is always my goal, and always looking to better understand how facilities are doing. And so that's why I was asking about any of the reports. So I'll be asking for that report. I thought it was a brand new one, so I didn't ask.
Oh, I want to say it was called Aurora Behavioral Health before, and they changed the name to Sacramento. That's probably why
Gotcha.
it looks different.
Gotcha. Appreciate that.
All right, is there any public comment? No. Okay, I'll close public comment and bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve agreement between the County of Lake and Sacramento Behavioral Healthcare Hospital LLC for acute inpatient psychiatric hospital and professional services for fiscal year 25-26 in the amount not to exceed $300,000, and authorize the chair of the board to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We'll move on to our next item, 7.4, consideration of agreement between the County of Lake and Vista Pacifica Enterprises Incorporated for adult residential support services and specialty mental health services in the amount of $750,000 for fiscal year 25-26. Christine.
Yes, this is a step down facility out of an acute psychiatric facility. So this would be a next level down. This one facility provides a little bit more specialized services for our more unhealthy mental health clients. And I believe in the note, it said how many people, most of these clients that go to this placement are conserved clients in this residential placement. And we do step them out of this facility to a lower level of care when needed, but this is mostly like long-term placement, skilled facilities.
Okay. Supervisor Sabatier.
So I don't have the math right in front of me, and appreciate you mentioning that this is for more long-term conserved folks. And we have to provide some sort of placement somewhere for these folks. But I do have to at least mention my concern. The cost is growing. We're looking at about $120,000, $130,000 per person when I did the math of what you spent last year, and the number of unduplicated count was there. So just wanted to share that concern, especially, and I recognize that services are very specific, but I remember we were doing private for somebody that we had a special situation that social services brought to us. And I think we were spending like $5,000 a month. Again, the level of care that was provided is different. How it was paid was different because it wasn't through Medi-Cal. But in my opinion, some of my concerns that I'm sharing today is, I think, part of the reason we're having some issues at the federal level as to how much money is going into these programs, because the cost is just enormous.
Go ahead.
How many days in total, or on average, are they staying in these two facilities? Because at $130 per person, how many days does that?
So the first facility, the Sacramento Behavioral Health, it's an acute psychiatric placement. So most of the time they're in there from anywhere from 3 to 14 days. And then they step down to a lower level of care, whether that is to go home or to a level of care like this. And then these facilities, they can be there the rest of their life. This is a skilled nursing facility, so depending on the client and their age, and what their needs are, they could be there for a long time.
Thank you.
We try to get them out of there and step them down as fast as we can, and so do they. So IMD facilities, that level of care, they try to get them out of there in less than 6 months.
All right. I'll open it up for public comment. Bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, if there's nothing further, I'll move to approve the agreement between the County of Lake and Vista Pacifica Enterprises Incorporated for adult residential support services and specialty mental health services in the amount of $750,000 for fiscal year 2025-2026, and authorize the board chair to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 400. Next, we have 7.5, consideration to adopt resolution authorizing the Behavioral Health Director to sign the standard agreement 24-40117 with the California Department of Healthcare Services to bond BHCIP Round 1 Launch Ready Program funding. Christine.
So yeah, this is our grant that we were awarded, the B-CHIP grant, to do our capital project on our South Shore Clinic. This is the agreement for us to move forward with that project of remodeling the building in Clear Lake.
All right. Any questions? Open it up to the public for comment. Bring it back to the board for action.
So Chair, I move to adopt the resolution.
I second that.
Oh,
I offered.
yeah,
Offered.
Resolution has
Sorry.
been offered. That's okay.
Used the wrong word, I apologize.
Supervisor Owen?
Aye.
Supervisor Spatier?
Aye.
Supervisor Rasmussen?
Aye.
Supervisor Crandall?
Yes, and so the resolution passes 4-0. All right. That was 7.5, right?
Yeah.
7.6, consideration of the agreement between County of Lake and Manzanita House for adult residential support services in the amount of $300,000 for fiscal year 25-26. And Christine, you're up again.
So this is a facility that is actually in Lake County, that we is the next step closer of getting our clients home to getting into their permanent housing independently. We've had this facility for a very long time, and it is also for a majority of our conserved clients.
Supervisor Sabatier.
So I will be approving this today, and again, just want to share a concern. This is not the only one on this agenda that says that this will be paid for through realignment and Medi-Cal reimbursements. We are seeing some, number one, realignment is very finite. Unfortunately, it's not really growing. It's getting smaller and things are getting more expensive. So we're getting that really squeezed. And we have a situation where we just had a letter that we wrote in hopes that the state doesn't take back some money. I believe it was approximately $1.2 or $1.3 million due to some issue that occurred at the state level, but they're coming back to us. We're requesting that money. Hopefully that will not happen, but that if it does happen, what we were told, or most likely would happen is that we would use the realignment dollars to help pay that back. And of course, that's a future conversation. My problem is that my concern is that it's a finite amount. We've already are involved in a situation with a loan that is a struggle to repay because of the way that the processes are in place on how you can use the reimbursement dollars that you receive. I have these contracts that come before me, and I feel like I'm not helping by just saying yes without a better understanding of how much left is in realignment as we say yes to this today. What are there's just so many questions on reimbursements and money, and I feel like I'm saying yes and contributing to the problems that may occur in the future versus just saying yes because this program is needed for our community, because if we have to borrow money or run out of money, that also hurts. So I just needed to express that I'm going to say yes today, but I really wish we could have a much deeper, in-depth conversation to better understand our situation.
Just a quick question. So with this facility here, is it one where if we were bringing somebody out of, say, the last one we approved, Pacifica, is that like the next level down? Is that what you meant?
Yes, that is correct. We would bring them from a facility like that is more higher acuity and down into, this is the last level before we would move them into their own residential home. I do want to make a correction on this, Bruno. Sorry. This particular contract is not covered by Medi-Cal dollars or realignment dollars. It's actually covered by our mental health block grant. Because it is a local board and care facility, we can use those fundings to pay for that, and that is where we pay for this out of, as well as our MHSA dollars, because these are our full service partnership clients that are engaged in services within our department as well, that are located at this facility. Once they are back in our county, we can provide services, billable services to the state while they are at this facility.
I appreciate that. That only exacerbates the confusion since that's not what the memo stated.
Yeah.
And thank you for the
Sorry for the
clarification.
confusion.
But I think we also do have limited funds when it comes to MHSA.
Yes, this is part of our 3-year plan, and it is budgeted out of our 3-year plan to pay for this contract.
Thank you.
All right, I'll open it up for public comment. Bring it back to the board for action.
With nothing further, I move to approve the agreement between the County of Lake and Manzanita House for adult residential facility services for fiscal year 25-26 in the amount of $300,000 and authorize the board chair to sign.
I'll second that.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Next, we have 7.7, consideration of agreement between County of Lake and Windsor Care Center of Sacramento, a mental health rehabilitation center for adult residential support services and specialty mental health services for fiscal year 25-26 in the amount of $500,000 and authorize the chair to sign. Christine.
So this is a new facility to us. It's an MHRC, which is the next level of stepping people out of the state hospital, which takes our realignment dollars, like Bruno says, like we need to bring our realignment dollars back into house. And so this is a facility that we're contracting with so that we can step our clients out of the state hospital into these facilities to so that they can graduate. And this facility is up to a 6-month facility is what their goal is, to get somebody rehabbed and out of that facility within 6 months into a lower level of care.
Any questions from the board? Public comment, I'll open it up. Close public comment, bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve the agreement between the County of Lake and Windsor Care Center of Sacramento, MHRC, for adult residential support and specialty mental health services for fiscal year 25-26 in the amount not to exceed $500,000 and authorize the board chair to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0. Thank you, Christine, for presenting those.
Thank you.
All right, I think that covers everything in the open side of the agenda. We're going to go to closed session, and that would be 8.1, Public Employee Discipline Dismissal Release. 8.2, Public employee appointment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B1, appointment of interim chief public defender. 8.3, which is going to be pulled, will be pushed to the 4th of November, which is public employee appointment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B1, interviews for animal control, care and control director, appointment of animal care and control director. So that'll be November 4th. 8.4, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, FERC proceeding number P77 Potter Valley Hydroelectric Project. And 8.5, conference with legal counsel, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2, E1, 2 potential cases. With that, we'll go into closed session. Supervisor Sabatier?
Yeah, just real briefly, I know you said that we're going to move 8.3. I'd like to at least open for a small amount of dialogue about that in our closed session rather than remove it entirely.
And we,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Your board can, while the item is pulled, can certainly bring it back in. It would be not pulled at that point in terms of the status of that item number in 8.3. If your board is willing to or has determined to conduct discussions as it relates to that item. So essentially, the status would be not pulled, and your board can.
well, I think that you could probably talk to CAO about it.
I wanted to talk to the board about it.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you guys are good with it. I can wait, but
I don't have a problem if he wants to bring something up.
It's related to it, so it's, yeah.
all right. So we aren't pulling 8.3. How do I state that, or do I just say?
So
that?
it would just be determination by your board to not pull item 8.3, which is captioned as public employee appointment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B. One, interviews of animal care and control director, and appointment of animal care and control director.
All right. So back on. So we'll go ahead and go to closed session. Oh, there it is. Vice Chair, was there any action to be taken out of closed session?
Yes, I have a motion, and at this time, I move that the board accept the resignation of Chief Public Defender Ray Buenaventura effective November 4th of 2025.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Is there anything else?
There is no further.
Meeting adjourned.